to the North American SMITE Challenger Circuit. One final set before the end of our day here in the SCC.
Uno más.
And we've got a good one. The Hounds up against the Wardens, some very competitive teams here in the North American Challenger Circuit. And the NASEC, very similar to how EU was. We're getting down the stretch here, closer to Masters time. Lots of teams competing for one of those top four spots. More difficult for the bottom couple teams here, but for the Hounds and the Wardens, very much in the mix. Gormizer's with me one final time. I've had three game sets already today, Gore.
3-3. 3? No, yeah.
We've
Three
had
game sets.
Three
but there's
game
no
sets.
Three more in there.
No, well, there could be three more if the Hounds and the Wardens play up to their potential.
That's 9 games, man.
What do you mean?
That's happened today. What do you mean?
Already? No,
I'm just doing the math for your thing.
I said there could be 3 more, and you said that's 9 games.
Oh, yeah.
That'd
because
be 12
we've
games.
had 9.
We've had 9. It
Yeah,
could be 12
could
if
be
we
12.
go 3 more.
Can you tell it's 7 o'clock?
7 o'clock. Let's start our next set at 7 o'clock. Let's see what the schedule had for us already today. The Xibalba Storm and the Anansi Weavers go all 3.
Yeah.
The Hounds versus the Wardens will round out our broadcast here today. And then on Saturday, prior to the SPL, the Athenian Sages versus the Yomi Tanuki will be our final North American SCC match of the week. I'm just looking at the icon score. I think I low-key like the Sages icon maybe the best. I think there's something about that theme of blue that really stands out to me. Unfortunately, it doesn't translate into success.
I'm a big fan of the Weavers logo.
Yeah.
Only because the spider has googly eyes.
Right, and so does our camera. Do we ever?
I kind of forget that they're there sometimes.
I look at them.
They've been there for a while.
I look at our camera in the eyes, and it's great. The Eldritch Hounds, a team competing towards the top of the North American SEC. Such a talented roster, and plenty of names that you're familiar with, should be familiar with moving forward. Remakami out of the Soul Lane Oath, Crimson, Quig, and Renjaru in jungle, mid, support, and hunter, respectively. What a talented roster this Hounds team is.
Talented might even be undercutting it. Dave, I want to do an exercise here, and you can play along at home. This is how fun this is. Just open a tab on your laptop right there. Go to scc.smiteproleague.com.
Yep.
Go to stats.
Okay.
I want you to click on players. And then I want you to click the word deaths twice, because it will sort by highest to lowest and then lowest to highest second time.
Oh, there's one.
And I want you
here.
to read the top column for me and how wild this is in 3 weeks of play.
Yeah, there's one player, Gore, when I sort least deaths to most. There's one player who's died 0 times in 3 weeks of play, and that's Crimson. Crimson is 19, 0, and 46.
Crimson has a 42 KDA.
Yeah, literally unlimited. Crimson hasn't died yet. That's miraculous. Through what, 3 weeks of play, we've said?
Yeah. I don't get that. I was looking at it yesterday, because I go through.
Surely that's a typo.
And I'm like, no, because I was looking at it, and I was like, I update it, and I'm looking at, top KDAs for every single team. And in NA, you've got, for the Weavers going into this week, Jingu Bang had a 1.5. The Sages, Jengaru had a 2.2. The Wardens, Griff had a 5.3. Numbers that were, some of these looked really good and felt solid. You go over to Europe, Angry has a 28.8 for the Wargs going into this week, and it's like, okay, cool. That's a large number. And then it's Crimson with just a 42 flat, and that blows my mind.
And a death doesn't change that, does it? The first
no, if
death,
he just gets one death in this set, it doesn't change anything.
The death. So one death for Crimson is all the wiggle room he's got to avoid having his KDA. The Wardens, a very talented team as well, a team that likely has figured out how to find the back line. So I think Crimson up against Relentless One, Sino, Moswald, Gino, and Griff might be feeling a little bit more nervous than he has been in past matchups. If nothing else, even just in the individual mid 1v1 Gore. Moswald, a storied career in SMITE, and one of the spearheads of this Kaolin Wardens roster.
Yeah, I'm really excited to watch what this team is capable of. It's really fun to watch them. Griff and Moswell, worth mentioning. I think top kills for an individual player right now in NA is 40. Both Moswell and Griff have been able to put up 39 each, and so you know that there's a lot of kill potential coming down from the mid and carry. But I think this team, like, just high end, has such a phenomenal potential. I think Gino Griff is a phenomenal duo lane. We've talked about Sino, I think, countless times for how much they can provide. And I think Relentless One as well is someone that has to be looked at specifically because of what they can bring to this front line. Between them and between Gino, you know, you've got a ton of people behind them. Sino and Moswell are easy to mention because of such a tenured history that they have. Griff as well. I think that you look at this front line and what they can bring for their carries, and it feels like most of the time it should be kind of on easy street for them, right? Like they've got so much, I think, potential and so much capabilities that they're just a treat to watch. And this is going to be maybe one of the most interesting sets to watch them in, because if I remember correctly, they are 2-1 right now. Mm-hmm. The Eldritch Hounds are a team that I think is going to test them to the limits.
Yeah, I agree, Gore. I think it's such an interesting way that the North American SVC has broken down, though, as well, where the Hounds, I think if you look at both of these rosters, I think you probably assume that the Hounds are the team that's 3-0 going into this matchup. Or the Wardens, excuse me, are the team that are 3-0 going into this matchup just because of their roster. The Wardens are 2-1, and the Hounds are 3-0. Not surprising that the Hounds have found success. But when you technically talk about underdogs going into this matchup, the fact that it's the Wardens, standings-wise, who are the ones punching up, I think still pretty surprising. P's and B's for game number 1. Let's get this fourth. I knew I said third because there's so many threes today. Fourth and final set of our day kicked off between the Wardens and the Hounds. With a Hounds win, actually, I think the Hounds are already confirmed going to Masters no matter what. The Sages only have 2 more games to play. They're 0-3. No way you can catch up to the Hounds. The Hounds are going to Masters. That's fantastic. The Wardens, I suppose, again, technically a team that is right on the edge.
Yeah.
But with a Wardens win, they would confirm themselves moving forward to Masters.
I think, if I remember correctly, a lot of it was like, you know, with the Weavers, I believe, having just lost, right, then all of a sudden, like, they're knocked out of contention.
Right.
So
Weavers
that
are done.
Has knocked them away. Sages are the only ones that could change things, and I think a lot of that was, like, it's super dependent on, like, Wardens and Tanuki, you know, losing certain sets, and then the Sages being able to win their own.
If the Wardens win, they'll have 3 wins, and the Sages only have 2 more. We do. It's literally 5 feet away from us. If the Wardens win, they'll have 3 wins, and the Sages only have 2 games left to play. So it's only the Tanuki, who have 2 wins currently, who could fall out of the top 4. And the Sages and the Tanuki play later on this weekend. So if the Sages want to have any sort of chance whatsoever of making it to Masters, they need to win on Saturday. And so we can cross that bridge. But it becomes very simple for the Sages if the Kaolin Wardens end up winning this one. And it's just them against the Tanuki, and then Tanuki need to lose, and Sages need to win their final sets. Gets a little interesting moving forward. But we will end up figuring all that out here in the next couple of weeks at least. Let's catch up with picks and bans. Medusa ends up being the first pick here for the Eldritch Hounds. And then, Gore, that's going to leave AMC and Kabrakan over to the Wardens. It's interesting. You get a distinct style shift, I think, when you leave EU and go over to NA. AMC, like, not looked at all over in EU. Feels like Medusa maybe under prioritized in
you even know who you're
North
fighting?
America. Polona, I think, comes to mind as well. I do think there's a distinct picks and bans style shift between their 2 regions.
And what's blowing my mind is, where's Kleena? She's not banned. She's not picked right now.
She's at the Kleenas.
I guess so. It is wild to me that, I mean, at this point, I mean, Kabrakan with a Cthulhu alongside it, like, unless you're going to throw him over as a support specifically, I don't know if you're going to even see her here. I'm also surprised because the Wardens here are the ones who ended up banning the ESET. And the reason I mentioned the Kleena is because ESET is the most banned against the Wardens. And then next to that is the Kleena. And so I was immediately looking for, like, where these were in the picks and bans, how they were trying to deal with it.
Interesting.
And so it's a weird shift to me that they're completely going to go. And with Kabrakan and Daji locked in, I think there's a chance we just don't see her.
Yeah, I mean, both soul lanes locked in as well, we assume, between Bologna and Cthulhu. You did mention, though, that, like, week 1 of the SPL's, like, 9 straight wins.
Yeah, she hasn't been winning
and then started to fall off a little bit. Trelly was even taken aback a bit by that Kleena loss in our earlier set. I don't know if you heard me. I laughed a second ago. And I don't want to start us off on the wrong foot on this cast score because we've got a little bit longer to go here before our broadcast is done. I laughed because I opened up my Chrome, and the first web page that opened was me Google searching who gnaws the roots of the world tree from our from our conversation earlier. So
and it was Nidhogg.
It was Nidhogg. Yep. And so we figured that one out. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole. Not just yet.
I will say, I just want to get this off. I was thinking about it earlier.
Are we going to go immediately?
How wild is it? So almost every realm in Norse mythology is like Heim, but then there's like a couple that are like, well, Asgard, Midgard.
Yeah, they're guards,
the Avalier, whatever it was, where it's just like they have like they
Nidavellir.
Is that like? Do they think they're more important than the others? It's like you're a Heim, but you're a guard.
I'm sure it has something to do with like the style of people that live there. I don't know if J-Mac came on the desk and shouted out his funny joke.
I like that.
As we get into game number 1, I'll tell our joke here in just a moment. Between the Eldritch Hounds and the Wardens, will the Eldritch Hounds remain undefeated throughout 4 weeks of the North American SEC? Can the Wardens confirm their avenue in? Two masters we will see at the end of this set. And I'll give J-Mac his shout out. When you and I in our second set of the day, however long ago that was, we're talking about all the different many moons ago, about the different realms that were on the world tree. Lewis, one of our production guys in our Discord, sent us the full list of all the different realms. So, there's Vanaheim, Muspelheim, Jotunheim, Niflheim, and then J-Mac sends a separate message and goes, and Anaheim, the realm of the Disneyland resort.
That's good. That's good work.
That was like painful, but like funny in the right way. So shout out to J-Mac. I said boo in the Discord, but I low-key appreciated that one.
It made me laugh.
Yeah, let's get into game number 1 though, Gorby, because I do think there's a lot of fun to look out for here in this one. Crimson on Merlin, I actually think sneaky, very, very strong. If I think back to Crimson, I think this is just a player who's got a rock solid Merlin going up against Moswell, who later in the game on this AMC Gore, you get some good ability based itemization online, and I think AMC is also going to be in a strong spot to make similar but different avenues of impact to Crimson on his Merlin.
And when I think of Crimson, I think, oh my God, this guy's played 3 weeks of SCC, hasn't died once, and has a 42 KDA, and then still managed to get on a very comfortable God for him. Hey, I'm interested to watch if there's any play specifically around the mid lane that the Wardens are going to look for. If maybe we're going to see Sino get aggressive over there. Right now they're getting hyper aggressive and going for some plays there on solo. If they're going to try to shut him down just because we've seen that he's a huge player, I think alongside that you have to worry about Dude Man Bro just because of what they bring to the equation. Along with Quig, like, I think this Ymir is going to be deadly. Sobek, the Sino, Moswell, Relentless one, all of them are going to struggle against well-placed walls in the jungle later on. So this left side of the map just feels like it's a very large threat.
It does seem that way, Gore, and a large threat early is Oath, as Moswell got so mobile on this AMC. As Oath trying to run him down, but maybe mobile enough that Oath is not going to be able to finish off the
Honey
kill.
Does work.
And Honey does some work there. Moswell walks away. First blood goes missing. As the Hounds still have pressure over here on duo, but Oath getting active early and nearly makes Moswell pay.
And I like the way that we see it. I love that Oath holds on to the dash. I will give an honorable mention. It is so easy to talk about the fact that that Crimson's got a 42 KDA.
Yeah, has he died in the last 3 weeks of play?
No, he has not, and I'm going to keep bringing it up. But Oath has been doing, I think, really well just in general as a jungler. Again, 35, 16, 32 overall. Has been very active in this last couple of weeks and really makes a lot of plays for this team.
Quig steals away the purple buff. Does get plucked back. Not sure there's enough damage from Griff just yet to snag the kill. But a nice purple buff steal there from Quig, and that'll keep Gino and Griff at least annoyed for the time being. I'm curious, Gore, how this Bologna will start to look, because I feel like a similar trend, maybe to the Kleedna, has been Bologna's rise and fall at the beginning of Season 9. It was nothing but Bologna and Amaterasu for a while, and I still think Bologna somewhat prioritized over in the solo lane. But it feels like there's a few unique styles of solo laners that you can play right now. As Quig does get ganked by Sino here. Walls go down. Freeze actually delays out a lot of this fight. It's a nice double knockback from Griff, and Quig will not survive Sino. His gank pays off, but does it cost the Wardens anything? Griff goes back into the fight, but Doomman Bro's already gotten one of the kills, ticks over to level 5. One last auto attack, and the sword from the sky will get it done for Griff. But now Oath has his ultimate as well. Gets one kill onto Griff and a 2-for-2 trade and a brawl on the duo side.
So close. It was so close to being so much better for the Hounds, being able to get a lot more kills with at least one less death, right? Quig is going to go down there no matter what. First blood feels good for the Wardens, but you know, it's against the support. You lose your jungler and your carry. That's not going to be as worthwhile. But good, you know, just placement and walking, pathing, I guess, from Griff gets him around the wall so that the Petrify doesn't connect. Oath takes a little too long in the chase down for what they're going for to be able to pick up that very first kill that they find. And then Dude Man Bro's in that awkward spot where he's just too low.
Awkward spot now for a Relentless one, though. Or maybe it's Remikami. He's got to use Eagle's Rally to jump out of the pressure. We've seen this now a couple of times. It's just Relentless one and Sino sending pressure Remikami's way. And so the Bologna, after securing this blue buff, will head on back. We've seen kind of a variety of builds, Gore. I'm interested what direction Remikami takes this build on Bologna. Feels like we've seen Shoguns, Berserkers, that style of early build from Bologna a couple of times. Auto attack style, Shoguns is the answer right now. Do we see Frostbound in these builds ever? Maybe?
Yeah, so
usually
usually
like
it ends up
Shoguns,
coming
Berserkers,
in,
Frostbound, something
yeah,
like
like third or fourth. Like it is definitely like you have to get the Berserkers online prior to that, and the Shoguns is very helpful. Sometimes you'll also see like a Witchblade. There's enough slows on the other side that I wouldn't be surprised if like a Witchblade or even Witchblade is good for the attack speed that Moswall, presumably Sino, maybe a little bit of, and Griff are going to be picked up. Wingblade was what I was thinking of just because of the amount of slows that are on the other side. Might be helpful a little later on. Just depends on how you want to play it.
Relentless one does not have ultimate, but do the Hounds have damage? No, they don't. Remikami overextends, and the Wardens on a nice counter gank from Sino return the kill. Relentless one stays on the map. Still looking for pressure onto this Cthulhu. It has just not been there. Remikami overextends, takes a tower shot, and heads back to base.
Yeah, so getting pushed out of base, teleporting back, and then dying gives a lot of pressure to Cthulhu that wasn't really there before, right? All of a sudden, I think Relentless One is going to have a little more staying power. You're losing out on a decent chunk of farm if you're Remikami. Doesn't look like it's going to be enough to give a massive level lead, maybe only half a level at the end of it, but a lot of that is going over towards Sino. So for Oath, a little bit slower pace, you know, in the jungle, falling slightly behind. And that's really the difference. You know, we're talking about this Bologna build, but if you go for the Shoguns first, that's great for survivability in the lane. If Relentless One or Sino are coming to fight you on your turf, you'll be fine.
Dude Man Bro is low. Pluck, no good. Petrify is out. I was wondering if Lurking in the Waters would go through. It's easy enough for Sino. You don't need Lurking in the Waters when Sino's got that type of damage. Divine Ruin is all Sino needs, and the Warden's starting to roll a little bit here, Goremizer, and Sino is at the forefront of it all. 100% kill participation through 5.
And a 1-2 punch, I mean, just drop the ult, slap him with the walls, and you're feeling pretty good about that. I will say, the Eldritch Hounds, this is a draft that, especially now that it has started to fall behind, is going to suffer from this position, right? Like, Sino's able to start diving a little bit more. Dude Man Bro, I think specifically for a Medusa, should have, in theory, more power over in the duo lane, but when you're up against a Sobek that can displace you, when you have all this CC that's getting thrown your way, you have to be more careful.
Moswall uses the beads, but Crimson has damage from range. And so the Eldritch Hound's able to find an answer back, and it's on Moswall. Again, we wondered, Gore, if that would be a target, because with beads, that's helpful, right? I mean, it gets you out of the Palo. But once those are down, I mean, this AMC is ripe for the plucking, even though the Sobek's on his team. When it comes to Oath, the Palo can make such a big difference in mid. And so for, 140 seconds, I wouldn't be surprised if Oath sends a little bit more towards mid and gets Moswell maybe one more time on the back foot.
Especially because, and we always talk about Palau, the pull is so potent here, and like you said, that's going to be so useful up against Moswell. But on top of that, you're guaranteed to pull right now the jungle. You can guarantee pull Relentless One and Gino. Like, there's 4 people up on the board right now that you're going to get. In most parts, you're either going to force an ult or you're, unfortunately, if you're Moswell, you don't have them, but going to force beads. But Oath also showcases something that I don't think we talk about a lot with Daji, and it's just because most of the time it doesn't matter as much as it did right there. And that's that you can beads the pull, but the damage is still going to hit you.
Yep.
And Oath consciously makes the decision, cool, I'm not going for the pull right now. I'm just going to slam you with as much of this as I can to make it so that this little bit of tick damage that Crimson has thrown down is going to be enough to push you over the edge. So the combined effort between them is massive.
Whoa, Pluck nearly finds its way to Crim. Quig instead, the one up towards the front of the fight. Oath goes deep into the back line. Moswell low. Here's Palau. That's connecting onto the AMC. Pulls back in, and Crimson has another here in this game. Quig gets plucked by the wayside by Gino. Quig ends up going down as well. So now a bit back and forth here in mid-gore. Ends up being a 2-for-1 trade in favor of the Wardens.
Yeah, with Oath going down, that becomes much less worthwhile for you, right? If it's just Quig,
oh no, Gore!
It was something good.
Gore, it could be all. He flickers away. Nearly the first death of the phase for Crimson. Gino wants it so bad. I don't think he's going to get it, though. No.
I'd chase it. If I knew that he hadn't died, like, I'd probably die to the tier 2 trying to get that kill, if I'm honest with you.
I wonder if Crimson is playing slightly more cautiously over the next couple of matches purely to
maintain.
Well,
because if you,
they have an entire phase, that would be unheard of.
This set, and then they have one more next week where they just have to not die.
Yeah.
Which I make it sound like it's easy. It's not. Look at this.
Yeah, Dude Man Bro should die. Should die. Should die. He should die.
What
That's
a
good
great
wall!
wall!
He's not gonna die.
What a freeze!
Unbelievable. The wall and the freeze.
Let's go!
All there from Quig, and Dude Man Bro doesn't die. And the Eldritch Hounds keep their hunter on the map. And a dual lane fumble from the Wardens. The Eldritch Hounds bring this game right on back.
And that's what a Ymir can bring, man. Just a lot of control, but it's the same thing. Sino's got some walls himself.
We're going to keep doing this just over and over.
Just fight after fight. Let's go.
Yeah, but look, that's what we asked for, right, in North America. They're gonna keep us awake a little bit longer. As Oath pulls in one more. And it wasn't AMC this time, but it was Crimson providing damage on the back end of a mid lane engagement. This is where I'm thinking
this
for
wall is
sure
nuts.
he goes down right there. Oh.
It blocks, he catches the auto. That auto
that was
kills
nuts.
unless that wall is there, and that's just perfect timing for Quig.
Yeah, that's great. And now the Eldritch Hounds, specifically their mid laner, Gore, probably happy. It'd be difficult to maintain an undying KDA in a game where your team is just getting blown out, but the Hounds have continually had answers for the Wardens in the early part of this game so far. Unfortunately, Sino on the Kabrakan, I don't think has been able to immediately match the pressure. He's had kill pressure, don't get me wrong, but feels like in the last few minutes in the mid lane, Oath has been a little bit more active. But Sino absolutely, as far as getting the ball rolling, has near 100% kill participation. So to cover my own bases there, in the last couple of minutes, it's felt like Oath is a little bit more active in mid specifically, though Sino has done well in the early part of this game, just in general. So both junglers, Gore, I've liked what I've seen.
And it really is just the difference of how well you can fight specifically up against the Kabrakan. I'm wondering, and it's going to be a few levels before we get to see it, beads have been picked up by everybody here on the Hounds. I'm wondering if Quig's going to go for a shell and if it's going to get upgraded to a phantom shell. Like, if they're giving enough of respect, I guess, really, over to Sino's walls, because that is something that, if you're looking at right now for Crimson trying to keep your KDA play going, that's something that's necessary.
Moswell jumped.
Oh my god!
Yeah, look, this is what we wondered. We wondered if we would just see the AMC just sat on. And even with or without beads, that's been there. As a counter gank in from Sino. That's a 5th kill of the game onto the Kabrakan. This Quig will lumber on away. And how many times have we now seen this, where one member of either the Hounds or the Warden dies, and then there's an answer back from the other team. This time it's Moswell who goes down for the 3rd time this game. Noth with his second death.
And you know, we saw it a little bit ago in the grass, but like the gold isn't really like that crazy in your favor. Experience is definitely where you're feeling it the most, just because they've been, like you said, I think sitting on Moswell a little more comfortably in mid, 0-3 versus 4-0. That's going to create a little bit of a level discrepancy, 15 there for Crimson versus 13 for Moswell. But otherwise, you haven't got enough of a massive lead that you're feeling like you're really winning this game yet.
Gold Fury shred is there for the Eldritch Hounds when you've got a 4-0 Merlin and an ADC who's feeling just fine at this point in the game. Yeah, the Eldritch Hounds are going to be able to grab this Gold Fury relatively quietly. And Gord, nobody's had an answer for it yet this phase, but somebody, if you're the Wardens, needs to find an answer for Crimson on this Merlin. Now
let's rename this set. It's not the Hounds versus the Wardens. It's the Crimson Watch. This is all just about that death column.
Yeah, keeping that death column empty. Oh, Crimson's on an awkward side of this fight. Could be a great opportunity to send some Merlin damage right down Main Street, and that's exactly what Crimson does. Pyromancer was started by the Wardens, but immediately gets dropped off. The Descent into Madness is out from Relentless One. Dash away from Oath, wall up from Quig. Looks like Quig might be the sacrifice here, as Lurking in the Waters will chunk down the last bit of that damage. Sino!
Oh no!
Taken down by the Pyromancer. Add another one this week. Feels like we can't get enough. And another 1-for-1 trade, though. Pyromancer's the one who gets the kill up against the Wardens.
I wasn't watching the assists column incredibly close, so I don't know if anybody got credit for that. I'm going to assume at least somebody had to have picked up one in their favor. Sino going down. I mean, they still get the the pyro, so it's not like it's like the end of the world for them. But having that kill bounty go to an NPC and not necessarily go to a player feels pretty good if you're the Wardens. Plus, you make up, I think, for like the deficit that was then created by the Gold Fury just a couple minutes before. So you are more or less in the exact same spot we were in before all those fights happened. And that means that I guess the Hounds still technically have a lead, but again, it's coming around the pressure. You had mentioned it from Oath in mid lane. That's where a lot of that is coming through, whereas Sino, I think, is finding a little bit more in these jungle fights, these 3-on-3, 4-on-4 skirmishes that we've seen so far. I think we've gotten a little bit more of a taste out of what this Bracken can bring, especially with that good lockdown we just saw. You know, without a shell, a Phantom Shell specifically, Quig is just going to get locked down in those. Most of the other people are going to have to extend something massive, but you know, Medusa as well eventually caught out by those, so you have to be careful.
What is Oath going to find here?
There
it's happened! It's happened for the first time in 3 weeks of SEC play. Crimson has died. It was a 4-0 start. Now the KDA remains the same.
Yeah, it's still
actually, it's gotten better.
It's better.
It's what
2 kills.
I don't know how that adds to it. 40.
Oh man.
46. Wait, did kills just add 1 or 2?
Kills are 1, yeah, and assists are.
So it's just a 46
KDA right now.
So it's a 46 KDA still for Crimson. It's that second death that you're hoping to avoid, because that's when it gets cut in half. Still a miraculous feat to go 3 weeks of Smite games without dying a single time.
Did I just say assists are 2? Because I meant to say assists are over 2, like they're divided by half.
Gore, only you would say assists are over 2 instead of just saying assists are half a point. Yes.
I was thinking of the fraction if I put it into a calculator.
No, right. No, I mean, you're absolutely right.
So it's assists over 2.
Right.
That makes sense.
To you.
Yeah.
Because you're thinking of it that way. Oath doesn't end up dying. Instead, Moswell deletes Quig. Crimson back from the grave and sends some damage towards the Wardens. What is going on? We are 17 minutes in, and there's still a tier 2 tower in mid. And Sino will fall, but so will Quig for the 5th time this game. That's a dash in from Gino, but a good beads from Dude Man Bro will give Crimson the double kill, who's now on a warpath after suffering his
48.
first death of the phase.
Yeah, and at this point, like, look at the damage. You know, 11K doesn't seem like a lot. 17 minutes in, though, he has been finding a lot of potential. I think the setup around them is phenomenal. Still lose a tier 2 in mid, though, right? So you're getting some kills, you're getting the damage, you're losing a little bit in the process, and it's just how much can you turn back in your favor. At this rate, with this pace of game, and this separation of gold lead, this separation of experience, we really are just talking about who can get enough pressure for a fire giant.
Wow, this ends up actually being a pretty impactful kill from Oath. And the fact that he's able to survive, that means Moswell is gone, literally gone for 30 seconds, whereas Oath can go back and reset. Maybe this is a lot less intense than I'm leading it on to be. It's an 18-minute fire giant. There were the alarm bells as the Eldritch Hounds are nearly finishing off the big objective, but they pulled off in solo. Somebody's got to get it. And they do, but it's the Wardens who walk in and steal away the FG. The Hounds will pull back a kill, but it is the ultimate from Sino that steals the Fire Giant on what could be worse, could be a kill. On to Dude Man Bro as Griff back on the map with the Fire Giant around his waist. We'll snag a kill onto Dude Man Bro.
This is where I almost want to do a telestrator replay of that to only circle one thing. And it is the very small gap between the edge of Quig's ult and where the Fire Giant's hitbox is. And it is just, if Quig is like a foot backwards from where they were standing, a little more south on the map, then that is a confirmed Fire Giant by them popping the ult. The fact that it was just a little too far forward is the difference of that burst damage. And I was saying that it's the difference of a Fire Giant between these two teams, and like it still really is, but like now you have potential as the Wardens to tear apart this map, to make it more than just, hey, we're like 400 gold ahead. Like you can now create a much more comfortable gold lead, massive enough that you're going to be able to get tier 3s, tier 2s potentially in the next item slot ahead. You're upgrading your starters. You're making sure that they're not going to be as controlling on the Hounds as they have been in some of these fights. You still got a 6-1 Merlin on the other side that's been a problem, but you've been dealing with everybody else just enough that it hasn't seemed to be too much of a slowdown for the Wardens.
And wow, the Wardens still with Fire Giant on some important members of their team are going to siege up the tier 2 tower. Gino, you can't walk there. There's a wall, instead goes back in with the rest of his team. Petrify flies on through from Dude Man Bro. Early ultimates out of the Eldritch Hounds. Again, there is still a tier 2 tower here. And we're just fighting up against the Hounds as the Wardens will get walled off. Fantastic by Quig. The Relentless One remains on the map for the time being. Oath goes back in looking for the reinitiation. Chains connecting. And damage is there, but it's only on a Relentless One, and the Wardens have done too much, and they will be repelled underneath the tier 2 tower.
Good news, 3 of them still have Fire Giant, and those 3 are still poised to come up and at least try to take the tier 2. But I mean, Quig's low, Rimikami doesn't have ult. You could try to get aggressive here. At the minimum, you can defend, but it is definitely going to be a little awkward if Gino gets a good pluck, like onto Quig.
There you go, Corey. You set the stage perfectly, though. Dude Man Bro is able to find a kill onto Gino, so support for support right now, but Sino's got the damage, walks back in. Dude Man Bro gets clapped. Down he goes. 45 seconds on the Medusa. Gotta be a tier 2 tower here. Make life easier for the Wardens moving forward. Griff, be careful, my friend. Crimson could have considered a reinitiation, but tier 2 tower goes down, Gore, but that felt like a Phoenix defense.
Yeah, I think that they showcased the Hounds did everything that they needed to. It feels like a Phoenix defense probably reminds you, because it was at the Phoenix for a little bit of that. And that's where things get a little more awkward. Right now, you know, 1 tier 2 left standing here for the Hounds, so it's not too crazy in terms of I want to say, their next defense. But when you start looking at it, probably not this Fire Giant. Next Fire Giant, if it goes to the Wardens, going towards like Phoenix defenses, you've got a really good spot if you're the Hounds. You've got good walls. Merlin is immediately makes your defenses feel a lot better. Powwow. People are going to have to dive deep. They're not going to feel comfortable doing it, and they're going to have to get clustered together. You've got good damage for a lot of that potential. And so left side Phoenix, mid Phoenix, even right Phoenix. Wherever it ends up happening, I think that the Hounds are going to be able to put up a pretty decent defense. All of that has to assume, though, that the Wardens get the next Fire Giant, and the last one was stolen. So realistically, it's not as, gimme, I think, for them. Even now that they've got a much more cemented gold lead, you're still not as ahead, I think, as you would like to feel like you could just waltz up and claim the next FG.
Doug, if you could, after we get away from the golden XP graphs, I'd love a hover over Quig's little left side relic there, because that's one we don't get to see very often, the Sundering Blast Gore. Sunder just in general, not something
I'll be honest, I kind of forgot about it.
Yeah, let's be honest. Half of me is like, what is that? And the other half is like, I know it's one of the Sunders. But we can look at it just from the perspective that Sunder is the name of the game here for Quig, and it looks like maybe an answer to Relentless One on this Cthulhu.
And it does, it had said it there, but splashes as well. So clustered up, really good against the Wardens, might hit Relentless One and Gino at any given time. So it has like a fun effect to it, but like you said, a lot of it is we can kill that Cthulhu specifically. Normally, Nemesis is that option that we've seen. It used to be Nemesis plus Sunders. Now, you know, with Nemesis not on the board for you, you've got to go something. And so the Sunder seems to be the option, going to help burn through that. You can see it, I think, with the Silver Branch Bow for Dude Man Bro. They're going to be able to hit a little bit harder, a little bit more often, but they haven't gone for like a chin size. They did go for the Wind Demon, so having the crit as opposed to something like health, you're not going to burn quite as fast through Relentless One, especially with an E-Staff, but you're still going to be able to get a lot of damage out there, especially on top of a Sunder, that I think that Relentless One will have to play more carefully with how aggressive they get, unless they get something like a Spectral to try and slow down a little bit more of that damage coming from the carry.
Slightly similar, but different build coming out of Griff here. Devour's Gauntlet, Wind Demon is there. But Exy and Deathbringer, Dude Man Bro will have to slither on away from this fight. Sino sends some trembles. I see a Sunder flying on by here. Nearly gets a kill on a Gino, but Dude Man Bro has got the last bit of damage with the Petrify. The Kaolin Wardens will not slow down, though. Descent into Madness. That buys you at least one character's worth of an advantage in this fight, but that just evens things up. As the Eldritch Hounds find a pick on a Gino, but Gore, that's not enough to pull the FG.
Well, Oath still has their ult. Quig still has their ult. A lot gets burned on the other side. Griff specifically and Moswall managed to keep theirs. And so there's some burst damage and capabilities, more team fight oriented as opposed to something that I would, maybe say about the Fire Giant itself and like steal potential. That is something you got to be worried about, I think, if you're getting too far forward on the Hounds.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, Gore.
They want another kill.
Yeah, this fight is always risky over here on right. You want another kill, but they feel okay still pointing the FG right now. You need Crimson in there shredding down this objective, or do you? My goodness, maybe you don't. Between Dude Man Bro and Oath, you've got plenty. The last FG got stolen away. This one will not. The Hounds walk in as 5, and they take the Fire Giant away. Relentless One pulled back in as well. And so it's an FG plus a kill to the Eldritch Hounds, and that's a long death timer, Gore. 50 seconds. A lot of towers left on the map for the Hounds to collect.
Side note, nothing as comical as seeing someone as large as Cthulhu get yoinked back.
That was very, that was very like old cartoon, like Yankoff stage with the shepherd's crook.
Yeah.
Like that kind of vibe.
I can see it. I can honestly play the Toon Cthulhu skin, and I can see it all happening immediately.
Yep, that all makes sense. But that is the finalization of the kill on a Relentless One, Gore. And it looks like tier 1 in both mid and right are the rewards for now. Oni Fury's up, but a little bit slow rotating to it are the Hounds.
So, throwing it out there, tier 1s.
So yeah, want it?
Not super worthwhile of the first minute of the Fire Giant. I guess it's some gold that's in your favor. Yeah, you should be able to control this. No problem. Get yourselves an Oni Fury, and then start sieging things up. This is where the 3 minutes of the power play are really going to start showing themselves over the next, I guess, back and then regroup. You're going to get to surge forward. You've showcased, yes, you can shred a Cthulhu, and now you've got even more damage to do so. You've showcased what Dude Man Bro and Oath can do alongside Crimson's Burn. So the damage capabilities of the Hounds is massive. It's going to come down to CC. You've got Sunder available. That's a huge thumbs up for me going into something like a Phoenix defense. I think the Wardens, especially with a Cthulhu, almost immediately set themselves up for success. But you also have to go into the conversation about a Sobek. If you pluck somebody, you are probably still giving your life away, but if they've got beads up, which right now everyone save for Crimson is going to have them available to themselves, then you're probably also just giving away your life. So you have to figure out where your target's going to be. Crimson is going to be the best one as of right now because of the lack of CC immunity. But you have to worry and hope that it's a high priority target because Gino, one missed block or one bad dash just kills you off. Relentless One has to be careful because they're kind of building to try and kill off this Cthulhu. But the two of them together around a Phoenix line can change this game in the blink of an eye back in favor of the Wardens. So even with some gold going their way, even with the Hounds starting to surge forward and take towers, it's not a guaranteed success, I think, for either of these squads, and they just have to play it as carefully as possible to make sure it doesn't slip through their hands.
Agreed. Eldritch Hounds will open up the left and mid lane Phoenixes both. Beads ready to go for everyone except Relentless One, but you do have Descent into Madness, so who needs beads up against the Palo when you got that big ultimate? And the left side Phoenix Siege will commence here as the only Warriors Oni warriors, Oni minions. The Oni warriors have been dealt with. The Oni minions have been dealt with on the left side. I wonder what kind of split we look at here for the Eldritch Hounds. Oath is pretty strong here, nearly full build, has most of his damage there. So they're going to send Oath towards mid. Left side, Phoenix taking a lot of damage. Double freeze from Quig makes things awkward for the front line. Palau is up from Oath. Sino has lost that trade. Big ultimate out of Quig. But beads end up getting used. Crim's on a killing spree, but Oath ends up dying in exchange. Both junglers now gone off the map. Left side, Phoenix still stands. Cthulhu up into Descent into Madness. Dude Man Bro has got to find the damage here, but instead it's Moswall finding it and is able to turn around this siege. A nice pluck, and that might give another kill over to the Wardens. Griff is on a killing spree, and suddenly it is Crimson and Quig left running away. Griff will teleport forward. Quig has the ability to wall this off, and he does. And out ahead of this trade are the Wardens with all their Phoenixes on the map.
Plus, you stall out a big Fire Giant push. The Phoenix doesn't fall down, so an advantage for the Hounds that would have happened around the next FG just gone. And Crimson has him back. Quig is here. This has a lot of turnaround potential both ways. Moswall could find a kill onto Crimson, but a good freeze wall off from Quig plus Crimson's damage would absolutely have killed the AMC. So I think better, probably for both teams, that nothing ends up happening there, just to make sure there's not these insane, like, staggered out deaths.
Yeah, Moswall didn't have the stinger initially in that potential 1v1 over towards mid, but with the stinger, that becomes a lot more interesting. Moswall does have beads here, Gore. I wonder if that ends up getting teleported, upgraded to the Phantom Shell at some point, because Quig has been pretty impactful with the walls. Already have one with Gino and the Phantom Shell, but maybe if Moswall upgrades that one to Phantom Shell as well, you're giving yourself a little extra safety if you're not always playing alongside Gino. And so a beneficial FG, Gordon, needless to say, for the Hounds, but not one that has totally broken this game wide open.
Yeah.
As far as map state goes, we're actually the exact same. Tier 2 tower over in solo lane for both teams.
It honestly shows the same variety the Wardens Fire Giant did, which showcased the same amount of potential, I think, that both of these teams had shown against each other prior to that, right? Like, it was just one fight goes one way, one fight goes the next. That first Fire Giant for the Wardens gets them some good gold, but doesn't get them a Phoenix and doesn't really net anything massive. And then the Hounds, their Fire Giant gets them some good gold, but doesn't net a Phoenix. And afterward, you're up by the same amount that the Wardens were up prior to you getting that Fire Giant. So really, we do come out, I guess, slightly a much bigger swing for the Hounds, but and more of an equal state than anything. And it comes down to the next Fire Giant. This one's going to be enhanced. This one's going to make it a lot easier. Those Phoenixes no longer safe and a lot more difficult to defend under, because they don't need the minions to be able to deal as much damage. You had called for a Phantom Shell or asked about a Phantom Shell there from Oswald, does pick it up. And so suddenly Quig is going to maybe be a little less impactful from these walls. You know, a freeze gets beads out, a walls gets phantomed through. Whereas if you're Sino, you could jump on to, realistically, you want to isolate Dude Man Bro, and if you get that Medusa, they're just locked in there until they can destroy the wall.
Gore, I'll take the revisionist history and say that I called for it, for sure. Fire Giant is low, this one's enhanced, and the Wardens get the enhanced FG. They will lose Sino in trade. Dude Man Bro gets his health bar detonated just a bit by the Lurking in the Water. Uses the Aegis, attempting to run away from the Descent into Madness. Healing, don't fail me now, but it fails. As Relentless One and Griff turn around a couple of kills, the Wardens, they get the FG and 2 kills onto the Eldritch Hounds.
And now they have the capabilities to surge forward. With Gino running into the jungle, it looks like, okay, they're going for a Phoenix. I was like, you could have just continued to tear down on right lane and potentially continue to push right there. But I like this call a lot more. You've got 40 seconds to work with in a 3v4. And you've got an EFG with a minion wave favoring you, you should be able to get this Phoenix pretty easily. If you get a kill, you win.
Yeah, you would think. You got double ADC, Gore. 25 seconds on Dude Man Bro, 25 seconds on Remikami. Wow, I was curious if you might try to force a fight, might try to force an end if you're the Kaolin Wardens, just because you got double ADC, you're late into the game, you have a 2-man advantage. Looks like the Wardens will play this one safe, Gore, not even go for the left side Phoenix.
I'm actually surprised to see that. Granted, is it worth going into the left side Phoenix right now in a 4v3 that is quickly going to turn into a 4v5 on the other side? So I think that playing it patient saves your numbers, you know, eliminates the risk of maybe overextending and getting turned around on just thanks to the fact that Dude Man Bro and Rimikami end up respawning, then it opens up, even more for you. Sino doesn't have the FG buff, but has now respawned, so you get to get the full reset. You got a Phoenix, so there's still a little bit of pressure being applied on the map. You got a Fury, so you get a little more gold in your pockets. You get to go back, finish some of those, 6th slot items, and push them into the tier 3 range. All of a sudden, you've got, like a Heartseeker there for Moswell. You've got the Bulwark picked up for a Relentless One. Tankier or more damage is being dealt, and upgraded starters are coming through. Upgraded relics are being bought. Power potions are there. It's a huge swing for the Wardens in order to open up a much easier push into a left side Phoenix if they so choose. Still going to be a 5-on-5. Still have a lot of good things going for the Hounds, mainly because of the freezes, the walls, the cooldowns of the relics on the other side. Admittedly, just some of the beats. And of course, the Merlin and the damage that Crimson can output here is going to be incredibly massive. Still 11,000 more than anybody else in the game. But you're going to need it, and you're going to need a lot of CC to make sure they stand in it in order to turn that around. The Wardens, this is maybe going to be the best opportunity they could have had set up for them, save for an Oni minion wave that is really going to allow them to get into a Phoenix.
Gore, the closest the game has been after what was a back-and-forth affair that started off white hot and slowed down a little bit once the big objectives started spawning onto the map. Look out for the blink from Sino and the counter engage from some of the initiation from the Hounds, but won't be there. Gino with an opening block. Relentless One into the back line. Crimson sends some damage towards the Cthulhu. Decent body block. Slows down the escape, but Sino blinks forward, throws the walls up behind Dude Man Bro. Petrify out, no stuns. Sino being burnt through now by Crimson. Left side Phoenix ends up getting taken down, but the Kaolin Warden score, they're pressing the eject button. They're trying to leave the base. Remikami throws the up down of the Eagles rally, but the Bologna is no more. Crimson will flicker away.
It's a fight that isn't going their way, but that back off pulls the Hounds out of the base and suddenly shifts things right back in their favor.
Titan, yeah, that's gonna melt. The Wardens just need a little bit of space, and space they've got. And in 35 minutes, the Kaolin Wardens will take game number 1 over the Eldritch Hounds. We're allergic to getting like a I want like a 20-minute barn burner, like just a knockdown, drag out. I'm steamrolling you for 20 minutes. We have got 0 of those today. It has all been 35-minute plus tug
and they
of
were
war
still
games.
damn near dead even going into the last FG.
And I don't mean that's bad Smite, Gore. I don't mean that's bad Smite at all.
It's too good Smite.
It's right. They're playing the game too smart. I want someone to make a stupid decision and lose the game in 20 minutes. Give me something. Game number 1 goes over to the Wardens. Can the Hounds bounce back? In game number 2, stick around to find out.
and sweet and caring, no cold and calculated. You can't be trusted. You want the world for your own. You want maximum profit. I can't afford to stay, so get out of my way.
And it is the Kaolin Wardens in a 35-minute game that'll take game number 1 over the Hounds. And Gore, this was a historic game because Crimson dies for the first time this phase. I mean, I don't want to underestimate or understate how impressive that is through 3 weeks of play. Not to die a single time, and now dies once, unfortunately, for the Eldritch Hounds in a losing effort. Loved what I saw out of the Kaolin Wardens, though, in Game 1, despite the chaos, the back-and-forth nature. I feel like, Gore, these are 2 rosters, though, that kind of thrive in that. When
Yes.
when the scrapping begins and the chaos rises, that's when these 2 teams make their
There was more action in that single game than we get to see in most weeks in Europe. So they want to scrap, they want to get
That's
in
true.
there. And I think a lot of it benefited some of these teams, I think, really early on. This was massive plays, though, specifically from Relentless One, like just keeping people so preoccupied. Sino goes super deep. I think the 2 of them together, it just creates so much space to get that Fire Giant. And yeah, you lose Sino, but you get a huge couple of kills back in your favor, a much more favorable position for your team.
Yep.
I think that this was just large for what they were able to do for the Wardens. And so really good team fight, mainly from the front line, a lot of good damage from the back line.
Yeah.
And it just set things up for them to be successful. And I think a lot of it just comes down to how unkillable this Cthulhu was for the most part. Sunder can only go so far. And I think the rest of the team, and you can kind of see it, Crimson's very far away, so a lot of that damage isn't getting, dealt for a majority of this. But Dude Man Bro was getting locked up. They didn't go for a Phantom Shell. They went for that Sunder instead. And so if Sino caught the Medusa, they had to break them out. There was no other way. You're not jumping over those walls or anything. And so there were a lot of moments where Dude Man Bro was caught in an unfortunate spot. Goes 6-6 and 6 here. And really would have been able to limit maybe some of those deaths by just walking through those walls otherwise.
Yeah, so Dude Man Bro puts up...
I said it.
That is a curse on you and your household. Or whatever that... for eternity, maybe. Crimson does die once this game, but it's only the once. So the KDA remains intact, but...
And it goes up even, because he was like 7-1 and 7.
Right. Got a better KDA despite dying for the first time. So that's
if it works like that, let's die every game. Wait.
No, because it's all over too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait.
Don't word it that way.
Yeah.
See, it sounds weird. Wait, no.
But what you said doesn't make sense. Yeah, that's why it confused me. Assists are over 2.
Yeah, I thought I did something. I did nothing.
If he dies one more time, then it will all be over 2, because
You're
it'll
right.
be over 2 deaths.
Assists will be over 2 as well as everything over 2, right? Yeah, it's kills plus assists over 2 over deaths, which in Crimson's case might be 2. I don't know.
Which you can separate into
He's got a
kills
good
over
KDA.
deaths plus assists over 2 over deaths, which would then combine to be like, if it was 2, it'd be over 4. Right?
Gore, we've been here for way too
You
long,
separate
and my
them.
brain is way too melted to go any further into this. P's and B's for game 2. A nice small number. 2. My brain can process that right now. Game 2. Let's start there. Build up into something bigger here in a little bit. Cabrakan, enough of a threat here. The Eldritch Hounds don't want to deal with it again, and so that'll end up being a ban. Yeah, Klina, Gore, a 75% ban rate against the Wardens themselves, 57% in the SCC in general. And unpicked, unbanned in game 1.
Yep.
Still unbanned here going into game 2.
And again, interesting to me that the Wardens are the ones banning the ESET, just because they're the ones that usually have
Look
to have
into
that
my
banned against them, right?
eyes.
It's one of the go-tos. Although it feels like the Hounds aren't giving it a lot of credit here. And it's maybe because they know how to beat it, right? Maybe know how to control it a little bit more, are willing to play some of those counter picks, specifically the Nox. Although it goes to the jungle when the Wardens end up playing it. So it's not like it's this easy lock-in, we know where it's going, that's a support baby, we can lock in Nox support and control it. It's like, all right, so what are you going to do? Run Nox mid to try and counter it? I guess Nox support could still be there, but not at the beginning. And so it's fun to watch, but I'm also curious how they're going to shift this up. It was AMC last time around. None of the bans shift enough. I mean, with the Zeus there, Or sorry, not the Zeus.
Are you
specifically
that
the Kraken.
impatient for your
It changes out
deaths?
the jungle. But Shiva was the one that was banned out last time around, so it opens up a pick that I guess the Wardens highly value.
Yeah, agreed. And the Cleedna Gore will end up making her way back into to the pick column here. So weaves away from the ban.
Listen to the sky crack and fall.
For the Eldritch Hounds. That's a strong pick up against what we I was going to say what we would assume is Cthulhu, but it'll actually be Shiva that Cleedna goes up against. And so Gore, Shiva, or Cleedna rather, has seen so much success out of the solo lane, or for a period of time saw a lot of success out of solo. Kind of forgot that originally intended to be played as a jungler.
In the jungle, yeah.
But still very strong, I think, in that role.
And it's something that's so, well, I guess with the Artio there, it's not as flexible. Although, I guess I can say we've technically seen some Artio supports, and she's a Guardian.
We've seen Artio jungle. That was back when Mifflin was playing it. And he got penta killed by Vaporish Ghost. He was playing Artio jungle that game.
I hope he's watching. There's no way he's watching.
No chance he's watching. He's sick.
He's not feeling too good. And that would make him feel a little worse, so it's better than
I think he's immune to it at this point.
because it gets thrown at him so often.
Yeah.
As like the reminder, like his
Yeah, but
KDA gets thrown at him a lot.
But he's also won Worlds.
Because we throw out there, I want this on record. Whenever it comes up, I think we
shall
always end up
bear your
throwing up like the
burdens.
2.3 KDA,
Yeah.
and that's career.
Yeah.
If just SBL, homie has less than a 1.
Oh,
And
so you're saying it's
I think
worse?
it's like a 0.9 in
You're
just
saying
SBL.
you're saying it's worse than what we give him
yeah,
normally.
like he's not.
No, all right, we got to say some nice
He's
things
riding
about-
some clout.
Look, all right, so Myth is not here to defend
closes.
himself. So let's say some nice
That
things
kills
about
you.
Myth to counter out us being a little bit mean. He's won Worlds. He's a fantastic caster and a good friend.
Really good at eating sushi, not so great at then feeling good after eating
Yeah,
sushi.
not good at picking sushi, but good at eating it.
Yeah.
And his birthday's in a couple of weeks, I guess,
Yeah,
according to
it is.
Jithans.
I know the day.
So those are some nice things about Myth.
And you know what? I'll throw it out there. It's May 4th. Make sure you tweet at him on May 4th. It's Star Wars Day for everybody else. And tweet specifically Star Wars quotes. Mifflin loves that.
Yeah, Myth loves Star Wars.
That's his favorite movie series.
His favorite series is Star Wars.
He's seen it so many times.
Really loves it. Gore, in the meantime here, as we've
Can you
heaped
imagine
praise on Mifflin.
not seeing Star Wars? Being
Yeah, right.
any
To be
age
clear, it's not that he
in the
doesn't like it;
US.
he's literally never seen it.
Yeah.
Which is wild. to me.
The thing that made him want to watch it was because the Lego Star Wars game that came out. That was the most recent.
The
He's
most
like,
recent one?
Yeah, he goes, yo, maybe I watched Star Wars.
He should. And Gore, we should watch the second game of Smite against the Wardens and the Hounds. That is going on, by the way. Sylvanas ends up being the final pick of the draft here for the Wardens. A unique look at a support pick that we've seen a little bit of today already. Don't often see in this meta. And then the Giannis score, I think, is such a dynamic pick. Can it change things around and give the Hounds a ticket on to Game 3? Well, let's go into Game number 2 to find out. I nearly tripped myself up and said going to Game 3. Too many small numbers, Score. Maybe they're more confusing than the big
Yeah,
one.
I feel like if I gave you an integral, you'd maybe fare a little bit better than if I give you like a 1 and 1.
Don't call me that. Did you just insult me? Just call me an integral? I don't know what that means. Just kidding.
Yo, and you know what? I have 32 ways to solve them that I'm using every day.
Is that the exclamation point one?
No, it's the S from
yeah.
like this range to that range.
Here's
blah
what I
blah
know.
blah DX.
Here's what I know. It's a mathematical thing,
Yeah.
and that's about it.
You did computer engineering?
I did computer science. I minored in computer science, and
So you should know a
so
little bit
I
about
did
integrals.
discrete math and did a little bit of integral things.
Oh, did you
but-
not have to do calc too?
No, definitely not.
Oh, you lucky. I almost said a word that probably would have gotten a message.
Yeah, good thing we
so,
didn't. Gore,
yeah.
we might already be well underway into getting a message when we
Yeah.
started off. Double pull in, though, from the Shiva. That'll be first blood. We drop it right at the right time, Gore. We know right when to start casting. And the Kaolin Wardens, they grab first blood, and it's Sino who knocks down Oath.
That's a good kill, man. I think that this is a band that they end up pulling towards themselves in game number 1 and maybe showcasing why. Really aggressive, really early on, already starting to showcase some of the CC it has. And this is something we saw them do last game. I was a little, I want to say it's even still a little confused by it. But going for the proxy wave this deep, it's risky.
Whoa, we're going for a half respawn blue buff invade. And Sino now retreating desperately. Remakami has the ability to chase this one down. Maybe not, though. Relentless one is
he go
close
too deep?
behind. There's a rotation out from Crimson as well. But won't end up rolling on through. So a nice, easy, clean first blood to Sino over in the solo lane. And look, I'm all about damage. I'm all about fighting. And so I like the Shiva builds that we've seen today where it just ends up being full-on damage. And it feels like it still sticks pretty effectively later on into the game. You get some healing gore when you pop your ultimate, but you can just scrap so effectively. And it's the knock-up, the pull-in, the fire, all of that just feels so good when you're building the more jungle damagey style.
Yeah, it gives you a lot more to work with, and I think a lot more for us to expect. The thing that is most interesting to me is just how effective we've seen that pull-in. You know, like when you play with him, it feels good to connect, but that fire damage, it just does so much more for you than you anticipate.
Remakami caught in the mire. Watch out, Oath is here as well. Silence is good, but not good enough to stop Sino from dashing away. Relentless one, and Sino around the corner, oh, through space. Oh, just baited Remakami. It just baited his own teammate. Remakami took the portal, and Sino pulled him right back in. If that had hit from Crimson, would have been an easy kill. Didn't hit.
They might get Oath.
Shouldn't have taken the portal. Now Oath trying to invade blue, successfully drops it and gets a kill onto Sino. And so signs of life from the Hounds, despite dropping the first couple of deaths.
And you know, I don't think I've talked about this personally, but like the knock-up from Shiva is maybe one of my favorite, like just targeters in SMITE, right? I think it's really fun. It's just a cone, but the fact that you can choose the area for the knock-up. The reason that's important here is the knock-up was not there to help save versus Oath. I think if you get a really good knock-up, I think it sounded like it was like at the very end, maybe going for it. But if it was up a little bit faster, then maybe that fight ends up going a lot more in favor. Sino gets a kill, stays alive, and they keep things going in their path. Otherwise, that's a really good kill to pick up. You get a slight lead here for Oath, so now you're starting to I want to say lead the way in the jungle. A lot of the fighting's been right-hand heavy. And since the duo lane's been pretty quiet, I wouldn't mind seeing one or both of the junglers making their way over here.
Yeah, agreed. Although, with how Quig can play this Atlas, I'm not saying I have data on how Quig plays this Atlas. I'm more saying if he can play it a certain type of way, this lane feels a little bit more under control. Go ahead.
I don't have any more than that.
Is that an
it's
actual
still,
song?
No, I was just singing.
You were just singing words.
Yeah, the ones that you said.
I get into that mood sometimes where I'll just start singing words instead of saying them.
It's a good, and this is something, and anyone out there, like, if you're wondering, like, things to practice if you're trying to practice commentary, singing's a really good little practice habit because it helps you figure out where your voice is and sits in your throat so that when you're trying to get hype or when you're talking, you can, you understand it a lot more. You know where your tones are.
Yeah, that actually makes sense. I've never done it, but
Well, I mean, you sing in the car, right? Probably.
yeah.
Yeah, see? There you go.
Yeah, when I'm on the way to the gym
That
and I'm
counts.
just blasting some Blink 182 and getting hyped up on enough caffeine for a large mammal and just thinking about all the ways, you know, life has gone sideways. You know, those sorts of things. Just getting ready to crush my legs. That's what I do. That's what I sing as Quig gets the pullback in and gets the kill onto Gino. And that'll tie things up in the kills department, and the Eldritch Hounds will get the gold right back to even. XP just in favor of the blue side.
It's, again, such a small lead, mainly in the jungle. But like you said, getting the kills back to even, making things feel a little bit better. And finally, some pressure over there in the duo lane, right? And admittedly, it's just a kill on a Gino. It's a support, maybe not the biggest deal in the world. But I think it opens up opportunities because of the amount of pressure that you're able to exert over there, right? All of a sudden now, Gino's going to be going mid, so that kill, that assist specifically going over to Dude Man Bro gives a small lead, starts to create the conversation of what can happen between the Medusa and the Heimdall.
Quig rotates over towards the mid. He's traded out pulls. Oath doesn't have the damage, and Gino will survive this time. Oh, here's Sino, though. Blinks in over towards mid, but it's going to be a disengage from the Hounds as well. Lots of low health targets, a couple on both teams. But looks like this one will end with no more deaths. Love the way that I've seen Sino get aggressive early in this game. Crimson.
I like where Crimson's head's at.
Yeah, right?
The
Let it
ult
fly.
might not be
Let it
connecting,
fly.
but I do like what he's going for, right? That's like the third ult I think we've seen, maybe the second ult that we've seen, where it's just like, it is shot out strictly for I want to get a kill and not for any other like utility purpose. It is just the damage that they want. And unfortunately, both times it's been just a little wide.
Crimson has to use the beads because the knockup was through from Gino, and a lot of damage onto the Sylvanas, but Oswald Oh, he flickers forward, and there's the second death of the phase on a Crimson. KDA halved, all of it's over too. As Oath is in behind this fight, Gino is gonna get run down as well. Oath getting the ball rolling a bit on this Cleedon, and now Mazwal does not have the mana to fight, but Sino does, and Oath doesn't want to take a 2v1.
Honestly, don't blame him. I don't think that's a fight I want to take either. So backing off, good call. Mazwal, I think it is worth mentioning playing a signature Merlin, which is a solid pickup here for the Wardens. A lot of good damage. We saw exactly what it was able to do last time around. Not necessarily that high on the board, about double, or almost triple what the Giannis has put out in terms of player damage. So fight-wise, it's getting a little bit more done, but it's not like the absolute antithesis of what the Giannis is bringing. I think it's just going to be the dynamic that Mazwal can bring on this pick. What Merlin is you know, I mean, standard mage. He's going to burn. He's got more damage. He's going to be able to cycle through his abilities. We just saw it in game number 1. Giannis, you hit your 2, and you're doing pretty well. You hit your ult, your team might just win the fight. And if you miss both, then you're pretty much off the board from that point forward, and you have to wait for your rotation. And so that's where like the Chronos Pendant comes in handy, makes things look pretty good. Crimson, we know, can play this Giannis pretty well. We can expect some interesting portals throughout this game, but it is definitely a pick that can get bullied and bullied hard.
Mazwal, Gore, I think you bring up a lot of good points about the Merlin, and I'm excited to now see another game of Merlin, because you were talking earlier about if you had to pick one character in each class to play, potentially each role. I did say Merlin for mid, and so in the same way that I was voting, or I was rooting for Baron, not necessarily the team playing the Baron, but just Baron as a
like
pick
you just like the pick.
like I always root, like I was rooting for Merlin in our last game of this set, and still rooting for Merlin here in this game of the set. I like seeing Merlin get some play because I think it's a very fluid kit. It's fun kind of rotating through all those abilities. Space control feels pretty strong. And sometimes Merlin, I think, has felt like he itemizes kind of weird depending on where the meta stands. And I think double flat pen, you get Sands of Time, and ends up feeling all right on Merlin, at least right now. Relentless one into the Descent into Madness, and Remikami will continue to feel just fine in this lane, Gore, despite being 2 assists down and has the death. Feels like a Relentless one has been on the run for the last couple of engagements.
Yeah, honestly, it has been good pressure, I think, from this RDO. The clears should, and almost always should, be able to favor Remikami. It's just those early kills, right? Really good presence from Sino at the beginning of the game makes it a lot easier for the Cthulhu to just control the space. And not necessarily through the merits of Cthulhu, but more through the merits of, I've got a jungler that will slaughter you if you step up to me. Now, you don't have that as much, right? Gino's rotated over here. Every now and then, Sino might poke their head in, but like otherwise, it's all on you if you're a Relentless one. So RDO gets to take back control of the lane, get a little bit more of that farm. Not necessarily looking for kills right now.
Whoa, Griff! Into the Bifrost will make his way away. Duman Bro had Petrify. Maybe didn't want to send everything towards Griff, who will be able to go back to base just fine. But if nothing else, the Medusa will now get another uncontested wave over here in dual lane. If Duman Bro can push it out quick enough, Griff will miss little gold, little XP on this wave. Might crash into this tower here in just a moment. Portal out from Crimson as Gino has remained active, Gore. Another ultimate goes, but empty-handed in the kills department, though, has set up 1 of the 4 kills. Quig has had similar impact so far on this Atlas. 1 kill and 1 assist. But at least as we stand on the map right now, slight item advantage over to Gino. With the beginnings of some type of physical prots and magical damage, depending on where Gino goes. Is needing all of that right now as he's been pulled back, and Crimson finally gets on the board on this Giannis, but look at the health bars of the Hounds. Very chase downable right now. And the Wardens considering the same. Walking forward, but it looks like all the rest of the kills will escape.
Chase downable is a great phrase, by the way, because that's exactly how I would describe that, right? Like they are just at that edge where you're like, you know what, we could pursue this, like keep going and see what we can get out of that. Probably going to end up being like the Lotus Crown, right? Really good, gives more prots around for the healing for Gino, so that's going to be helpful when they get it. But what you saw right there was instead what Quig can bring, which is a admittedly still very close, but pretty much replica Fenrir ult on a much lower cooldown, right? Like, it's just on your 2 constantly that you can pull people in. And so a big deal, I think, for Quig to be able to scoop people up like that, especially if they don't have beads, which as of right now, you've got 3 lucky targets on the other side that can be waiting for you to try and open up that can of worms and create that trouble for them. Sino, at this point, honestly, might be the guy that you want to pick up as much as possible just to try and give Crimson, Dude Man Bro, Oath, literally any damage dealer the kill, only because then this giant threat on the other side is taken care of a lot easier, and you can continue a much easier team fight afterward.
That's all effective pull-in onto Gino, except the more scary of the pulls was Gino's onto Dude Man Bro. We're fighting over on right as the blue buff being looked at by Oath and Relentless One. Relentless One into the Descent into Madness. Sino into the ultimate, and it's Oath who grabs the kill. Could be a second as well, as the silence is effective, and Remakami strikes for the second kill of the engage for the Eldritch Hounds. Crimson let through space and time fly. Didn't connect onto anyone, but did provide a rotation potential if need be.
I don't think snakes sweat, but I'm pretty sure that this Medusa is sweating, just trying to stay alive,
I don't
right?
think they do either.
They are diving tier 2s, they are forcing beads, they are trying to make Dude Man Bro feel uncomfortable, and it's mainly because that fight does not go their way, right? A really good turnaround from the Hounds. I think Oath's presence in the wall, more than anything, keeps that going their way, and now, especially with the way that they're controlling someone like Gino, probably not resulting in a massive kill here in mid. Well, maybe until Oath shows up. Now getting a massive kill here in mid. It's just creating these opportunities for themselves and a lot of openings that otherwise weren't there that can lead to something that's finally a good gold lead, right? We haven't seen anything above 1K for either of these squads. I guess now we're starting to see it finally push that way for the Hounds as they continue to take control of this game.
Almost a 2-game score. It took like 20 minutes of our first game to get anything like notable,
beyond
right?
2K.
Right. I mean, it's been very close in the early to mid. Gold Fury would, I think, make a big difference here in this game. You know, it's only, I don't remember what the exact number is across just a net spike as far as gold goes, but the difference between a Warden's Gold Fury and an Eldritch Hounds Gold Fury now for the next couple of minutes, I think, is actually pretty impactful in closing up the gold gap versus it getting a little bit further out of control. You know, when you're already 3,000 ahead, a free Gold Fury here makes life just that extra tick more difficult for the Wardens over the next few minutes, especially when there are no objectives on the map to fight over, and it feels like the Hounds can really drive the pace.
It's the difference in the conversation of like, hey, they got the tier 3, I'm still on tier 2, to they are now on a tier 2, like they're just an item ahead of me, and being able to control that.
Gold Fury's low, and Gold Fury confirmed by the Hounds. Not without an attempted steal by the Wardens. And Gore, there was not a big amount of pushback there. And so it does, you know, it's about 1,000, you know, 1.3, 1.4K, something like that, 1.5K in advantage that the Gold Fury gives you. So again, it's not a back-breaking amount in context of the gold lead that the Hounds already had, but when you consider the relative swing, instead of it going 1.5K the other direction, now the Hounds the hefty margin ahead here as far as gold goes in this game. All of the tier 1 towers are still on the map. I imagine a concerted effort from the Hounds here. Get some of those towers dropping. Griff gets walked at by Dude Man Bro, and finally a kill drops there. Feels like Dude Man Bro's been trying, and Griff has just been able to escape a few times.
Yeah, they have been clawing their way forward to look for a kill. It's been a lot easier over on the right-hand side. Cthulhu's not an easy kill by any means, but body blocks plus the damage. Finally you get a hit from Crimson. I mean, that one just writes itself for them, and that's where the pressure matters right now. Gold Fury's down. Who cares about dual lane pressure? Get some kills on the right-hand side of the map, and you open up an FG.
Gino chunked down by Crimson just a bit. Dash forward from Oath. Horrific emblem ends up getting popped. What's that from Oswald? It's a flicker forward and a whole lot of damage on the Crimson. The Wardens have figured out how to find this backline, but the Hounds have figured out how to answer back here in game 2. Maswal will die for his efforts. Gino will as well, and it looks like Say will survive. A nice double knockup actually might secure his escape. What does Remakami want to get done here? It's a stun and a forcing of the beads, but Oath has got the damage we're tier 2 tower diving, no problem.
And yeah, Sans Fire Giant, that's just what that gold lead, you were talking about it, it's not backbreaking. That's what it enables though. You have just enough items to be able to go a little bit deeper. Experience as well, since it's so heavily in their favor, a lot so in the solo lane, 4 levels between those two. That's where you get these deep dives. Now the Hounds way back into this, a lot more of a controlling nature. And if you can keep this right-hand side as in your pocket as it is right now, I'm calling 17-minute FG. Maybe you back and reset to get some health bars and some mana, but otherwise you're in a great spot to just swim forward.
Now, I asked for like a 20-minute barn burner of a game in our last desk.
I don't think this counts.
No, we are getting close to that. We are a little bit closer. I think if this game goes another 18 minutes and we hit the benchmark of 35 minutes like we've seen all of our games go today, the Hounds have messed up.
Yes.
The Hounds are far enough in the lead now.
Yes.
Over 7,000.
And Dave, let me tell you how we can get there. To that exact scenario. And it is that because of the respawn timers the Wardens have now experienced, they're behind. There's no guarantee for a Fire Giant. In fact, I mean, relics aren't necessarily the best for the Wardens right now, and they're favorable overall to the Hounds, but all you need is one good fight around that FG, maybe one missed pull, one overextension from the Hounds. And that gets the Wardens to chunk, I would say maybe like 1K to 2K off of the gold lead, depending on like towers that fall right afterward. Yep. And then you can start talking about other objectives. You know, Pyromancer's going to be coming up pretty soon. Oni Fury's going to be back. There's a lot for the Wardens that is going to be available on the map to help alleviate the pressure of the Hounds.
Yeah, agreed. So there's always going to be an opening, especially when you're as good a team as the Kaolin Wardens are. But you know, again, if we get to a game that's now what would be double in length of what we've already gone, and the Hounds are this far ahead, a commanding lead, something's gone wrong somewhere, whether it's a steal or any of the possibilities that you had listed there, Gore. So we'll see how much pushback the Wardens have. There's no Fury on the map, not for another minute. Pyromancer's going to spawn a lot before that. That's some good damage from Crimson. Just clips Sino, but does miss Gino. Portal is fantastic. Should be a dead Sylvanas, though a 4-man knockup looks pretty. Doesn't result in anything. And I like the positioning that I see from the Hounds here, Gore. An immediate turn towards the FG pit. And it looks like we'll forego the Pyro and pull the FG.
Yeah, this is a good spot to be in. Again, you've got a good relic advantage, not by a ton at this point, but with the massive level lead that you've got over everyone that's alive on the Wardens, like, this is a dare. Step up. See what happens. If you're the Wardens here, you're just going to I mean, be lambs of the slaughter, right? It is not going to benefit you to try and defend this one here. I honestly don't even know. Normally 19 minutes, 19 and a half, there's some conversation to be had about tier 2s. I don't know with the level deficit. I mean, it's getting closer, at least in the carries. It's getting steps closer in the jungle, but it's still massive enough in solo lane. This Cthulhu falling behind everybody is on par with where Quig is. So Relentless One just does not have the staying power that you would normally expect out of a solo laner. And so at this point, I feel like you almost have to give up some of your tier 2s. I think you can show face, but you don't hard commit if things go awry immediately, right? Like you give yourself the out that lets the Hounds just take the tier 2s, get the gold, and then you mount a defense around a Phoenix. I think they've got a fantastic Phoenix defense, and realistically around some of the towers, they should be able to get some work done as well. If Relentless One farms up the way that they are, then I expect that whenever we see the Hounds get aggressive, Relentless One plus a Shiva plus a Merlin should be enough, and a good pluck from a Sylvanas to really, really thwart the Hounds in an attempted push.
Yeah, we'll see what that answer is, Gore, here shortly. All the tier 1s are now gone. Tier 2 tower on left looks to be the target now, the Eldritch Hounds. This Dude Man Bro and the Medusa just a little bit further behind. It has been the Oath game through and through. Remikami has helped over on right, but 7, 2, and 6, 13 of 14 affected kills, all in the back pocket of the Cleed. Now Heartseeker completed, going into this next fight as well. And these initiations feel all right for Oath, depending on where you position yourself in these walls.
Yeah.
Gino could, though, turn things around. A good pull. All the susceptible members outside of Quig have beads. Even that, just that one tick, enough for the silence onto Sino. An obnoxious level of damage.
Obnoxious maybe even, like, it feels weird to say an understatement that it could do.
Like just that one tick, like it wasn't huge, you know, but it's like just annoying enough for the tiny little tick of damage.
Yeah.
Maybe make Sino think twice about where he is. It's a good forcing of the ultimate, though. I'll give the Eldritch Hounds an advantage here in just a moment, but how about this? The portals are through, and so are the Eldritch Hounds. The Kaolin Wardens backing their way back towards their fountain. Left side Phoenix dies, but no one on the Wardens will.
And it's, again, good presence of mind, I think, just all around, being able to finally get Phoenix. You get something that's pressured. Now actually a full minion wave. That is an Oni minion wave, nonetheless, walking into the Titan room. So somebody from the Wardens has to back off to deal with that. You've still got a lot of damage capabilities, not a lot of ults or utility, but they're going to have something better.
Hey, Fenrir ult, right? You said something like that?
Yeah, pretty much.
It's on to Gino, but Gino doesn't die. It takes him a little while to. Oath will finish off that kill. Sino, you need all of the sustain that's in the Shiva ult. Remakami is going to shut it down quickly. The Eldritch Hounds walking in to the mid lane Phoenix. I'll do you one better. They're going to walk into the Titan room. Or are their health bars too low, Gore? Looks like they might be, and you won't even get a Phoenix off of all that. With 35 seconds on 2 members, 18 seconds on a Gino.
You got a minion wave here. They got to get this
Surely
Phoenix.
you're sieging a Phoenix.
Walking into mid, they should have the damage. They might be able to get another kill, and that might reopen the conversation for the end.
Ooh, the through space in time flies by. And the mid lane Phoenix will fall. All right, I don't mind it now, seeing how it all paid off. I mean, it's kind of results-based thinking, but you get the left side
Sometimes
Phoenix,
you gotta
get
be
the mid lane
results-oriented.
Phoenix. I guess I don't mind the look for the end, consider it. As long as you ended up getting that mid lane Phoenix, but considering the end and then coming up empty-handed on mid, I think would have felt bad for the Hounds, but able to get both.
And finally finding themselves, I think now for the Wardens more than anything, in a spot where, well, I guess it's not for the Wardens, it's for the Hounds, but it's much more massive. For the Wardens, you're still in a what's a word for decent that doesn't mean decent, right? Like, you're not in a good spot, but you're not in the worst. Like, I think you still have the capability to put up a defense around this next FG. Maybe not to the level that you would like. You're still at a deficit, and admittedly, some of the items that you really would have hoped to have
was your question
available and
a
built
word
up.
for
Yeah, well,
decent
you know what?
doesn't
Now that
mean
I'm thinking
decent?
about it, I don't even think I need it anymore. I've changed my mind. This is not a good spot for the Wardens to be in, period.
Yeah, no, definitely not Sino. I think we could just ignore Relentless One. Just go ahead and
and they
chase
are.
down this Shiva.
As it turns out.
The Fire Giant will respawn in 15 seconds. Sino is just pulling the Hounds as far away from the Fire Giant as he can, but anywhere on the right side of the map is going to feel pretty close. Fire Giant will respawn here, and I believe this is going to be a clean FG over to the Hounds unless the Wardens make a miracle steal, and I don't see that happening, Gore. And so Sino's going to be dead for a decent amount of time. I think this is smart. If you're Crimson and Remakami, see if you can get some damage onto this tier 2 tower on right while the rest of your team grabs the FG. And with 25 seconds now on Sino, could be looking at an easier Phoenix Siege without the Shiva.
Now, here's where I
And
think
Gino.
there's a very, very fun debate to have. And that is it worth going for that Hail Mary play around a Fire Giant steal when you know that otherwise you're in a 4v5, about to be a 5v5, around the right side Phoenix with a Fire Giant that just absolutely shredded it. I don't know. I mean, if you make up a huge defense here, that's great for the Wardens. But it is this is the safe play that potentially gets you a win, or at least a defense, versus the other one that is a risky play, which is why most people avoid it. But it's always that balance of how far behind are you? Are you far enough behind that it's worth just throwing the risk and caution to the wind and seeing if you can get something big out of it? I think the Wardens right now, again, they have a good defensive team trying to go into a 5v5. It's not going to work out too well for the Hounds.
Wow, the Hounds with literally... Hounds have nothing else on the map to fight for right now except for the Titan. Left side Phoenix will respawn here at some point. Descend to Madness out from Relentless One, but he's already lost half of his health. Triple knockup, that's good setup. Can the Kaolin Wardens rally around their solo laner? Right now they need to rally around Gino, who's melting down in the backline. Crimson's got damage onto Sino. Then now 4 members of the Eldritch Hounds walk into the Titan room. Griff, Mazwal, and Gino are the last 3 alive. The health bar somewhat low on the Eldritch Hounds. This one far from easy. Moswell has already burned down one target, and he can juggle his health bar. Back into the fountain he goes. Dude Man Bro sending some damage towards the Titan. Fire minion wave walking down the mid lane. But Dude Man Bro sticks with the Titan as the rest of the team pulls over towards left. Moswell flickers forward. Dude Man Bro's not going to have the damage. And Moswell shuts down the ADC. Quig turns his damage toward the Titan as well, and the Hounds will get it done. Just take some juggling of pressure. And wouldn't you guess it, Gore, we go on to a game number 3.
It gets incredibly close at the end there, though. I mean, look at those health bars. That is not... If I'm the Hounds, I'm not feeling too confident. Like, Oath's damage was pretty good, but that was definitely shaky. I think if that Titan gets reset, honestly, if Dude Man Bro doesn't go around and get a couple of shots into it, probably has a sliver more health, gives enough time to maybe get 1 or 2 more kills. Might not win them the game, though. It needed, it started around half when they finally surge in at the very end. If it had 3/4, probably see a turnaround and we're still in the game. Because it was that low and, they only needed so much to get it done, they're able to find themselves a couple of kills, a couple of low health bars, but not a save.
That is the bounce back that you are hoping for. We are all tied up, headed on to our 4th and final game 3 of the day, right after this break. Stop me if you've heard this one before. On to game 3 we go.
I've heard that one before.
All right, I'm done. Go ahead, Gordon.
Oh, no, wait, that's not how this... I didn't think that through.
Rest of the desk segment's yours. The Eldritch Hounds and the Kaolin Wardens send us on to our fourth game 4 of the day here in the SMITE Challenger Circuit. EU had some back and forth ones. NA had some back and forth ones. Surprising, Gore. What was that, like a 28-minute game, something like that? It's actually our fastest game of the day, I think.
Yeah.
All of our games have been like 30, 35 plus minutes. And so surprising, honestly, especially in NA, that the pace of that game, the 28 minutes ends up being the fastest game. I think had the potential for it to end a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
But good pushback ends up saving the day here. So on to a game 3 go. We go Gore. That one's tough.
We go Agor.
We go Gore. How do we get there, though, here in game 2?
It's a lot of just good pressure from the Hounds, right? I mean, early on, I think they start kicking things off with a couple of early kills. And I don't necessarily want to say control, but they beat down the solo lane into submission.
Yeah.
I like you get some good rotations from Crimson. Half the time they didn't matter. Rimikami had a 4-level lead at most points throughout that game. So you get the RDO, despite I think some fights back. I think Sino had started things off really well and they got aggressive in the first 5 levels on the Wardens. But then from that point forward, some free farm for Rimikami turning into kills and eventually just kind of bullying the Cthulhu. This is a good example of that. Where I think this is the fight that really started to set them apart, where you're looking at level 12 across the board, all 4 players, but you get a kill onto Sino and then really good body blocks that keep the Cthulhu engaged. Then you start to get a level lead. Then Rimikami gets a lot more experience. Then all of a sudden it's 4 levels, and I think we see 16 to 12, we see 17 to 13, things like that, and it continues on that path up until 20. And so you get really good pressure on solo, and once you have that, it becomes free reign for the duo lane or the jungler specifically, but everyone can start focusing on the left-hand side of the map, get them ahead.
Yep.
I think Oath has just a hell of a game. Crimson, it didn't start off with a lot of hits, but eventually that ult starts connecting, and then all of a sudden the duo lane's able to rotate. This Atlas, you had said that I had said it, and I had said it because Aurora had said it, but his 2 is literally just like a free Fenrir ult that you're going to have on a very fast cooldown, and so you can just grab it whenever you want, grab whoever you need, and then throw them to the wolves.
A forgettable game 2 from Gino at 0-7 on the Sylvanas,
Yeah.
and only a couple.
In fact, I already forgot it.
I don't know what you're talking about. What, game 2?
I remember like 9 of the players.
Yeah.
The Gino was playing something though.
No, it's not Gino.
Oh yeah, yeah. I gotcha.
It was not Gino who went 0-7.
Because that's his name.
It wasn't him. It was not Gino.
It wasn't
Who went
Gino.
0-7.
We'll never know who it was, but it was. We know it's
we
not
know it's
Gino.
not one person.
Could have been you. Could have been me.
Could have been me. If it was me, it would have been a lot worse.
I'm
than
just
0-7.
saying,
I
I've never
promise you that.
seen you and Gino in the same room at the same time, and we know that you're not. No, wait, that's okay because we know it was not Gino, and you're not Gino.
Did Gino?
Some roundabout way that made sense.
Is
There,
Gino one of the twins that we have? Isn't he brothers with someone?
that would be like Benny Q and Pagon or
No, isn't Gino? Doesn't Guy J have a brother? Relentless One is what production said. Doesn't Guy J have a brother?
A lot of people have brothers, Dave.
Okay,
I have a brother.
That plays Smite. That plays.
I have a brother that
competitive-
plays Smite.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, competitive. You break that.
Gore,
part.
I am far too tired for this right now. I'm gonna flip this table. Fun fact, Mifflin broke one of these tables once
Another
with
bear is
the littlest
very
amount of
protective
pressure,
of
and it wasn't
allies.
Mifflin's fault. It was just
I know it was.
the
We can blame
angle
him.
that he. Well, I mean, technically it was because
Yeah,
he was
he
winning
broke
to
it. He leaned on it and it broke from his force.
Yeah, but it was his angle. It was his angle anyway.
was the
It
angle.
was all about the angle. He
will.
said,
he
Have
came in
my
at a 42. It
revenge.
needed to be 45 or less or more.
he said ends up being.
You're not gonna. Okay.
I'm not playing ball.
You're not playing.
I'm not playing ball. I'm taking
This
my
shall
ball
be
and
a
I'm
day
going home.
long remembered.
No, I'll play ball with you, Gord. Don't worry. Eset ends up being the first pick here. My bit there was just that I'm staring into the camera
yeah.
while you do your bit.
I shall bear your burden.
It's like on the keeping. Well, you know what? We'll talk about picks and bans. I like the ESET pickup for them. I love the Wardens have been able to scoop it away and finally get something for them. This is the downside. Well, I don't know if I want to call it the downside. This is the time where things get really weird. And again, I mentioned that it was one of the most banned gods against them, save for this set. They've been banning it more than anything. That could be, and actually at this point probably is jungle. And I like that the Hounds are banning away mid laners because this is something Sino loves to play,
Yeah.
something Sino plays really well.
None will
and it's
flee my
honestly
grasp.
kind of weird how well it works out for them all the time.
Yeah, it almost doesn't make sense. It transcends any sort of tier list that we have. It's just the Sino diff on Eset. Chiron is the pick for either mid or ADC. we have to imagine here, because Chiron, we've seen Chiron mid, we've seen Chiron ADC. The build is oftentimes pretty similar. And Agni Gore, which had a 100% ban rate in our set over in EU, does not get banned out at all. Much lower presence over here in North America as far as pick ban rate goes.
Power wisely.
But a strong enough pick to be picked up by the Wardens with their final draw.
It was banned out by the Wardens in the bottom two. It was Tiamat Agni last game around.
Right.
So I think like a little bit more presence from them. I'm expecting like a lot of CC. Like think about the CC chains. I can get a ranged Agni stun into a ranged Spirit Ball. That's a lot of damage first off. With a Flame Wave, all of a sudden you get the follow-up. Atlas scoops you up and throws you backwards. Just the 3v3 is going to be a lot.
Sorry, I was closing my eyes imagining it. You did this for Atlas scooping you up?
Yeah, like...
Sounds like a nice hug.
Hug, yeah.
I bet Atlas gives great hugs. Into game number 3 we go. Because Atlas hugs in Smite usually end up with you
they
dying.
don't go well at the other end.
You end up dying if Atlas hugs you when you're playing Smite. Wardens versus Hounds. This is an important game. Number 3 could change the way the standings look in the North American SCC pretty drastically. For Gore, one final time today, we'll go into game. And I'm happy to be sharing this moment with you. It feels like we've reached a monumental time.
A monumental time?
Not necessarily on the clock, but just like a...
I was like, it's 8:24. What's...
What's happened at 8:24 in history?
8 is 2 times 4. There you go.
You're right. And
Thank you.
And 8 times 3 is 24.
Yeah, there you go.
And we're in game 3.
It all adds up.
The
math checks out, man.
No, it all multiplies up. Doesn't add up, and multiplies up.
Oh, good point.
But we're
well,
on some sort of
isn't
track.
multiplication just addition over multiple?
Multiple.
Yeah, like it's
Multiple.
like, like 2 times 4 is just 4 plus 4.
Yes. No, you're absolutely correct.
8 times 3 is just 8 plus 8 plus 8.
You know what's funny?
Yeah.
It's how time's a flat circle. We start game 2 with talking about integrals, right?
We always come back to math.
Yeah, we always come back to math.
I blame having a computer science degree.
Yeah.
I gotta use it for something, man.
I half blame having a computer science degree because I have half a computer science degree. No, a minor is like a third of a degree, but we don't have to get into.
I should have got. I didn't get a minor. I would if I had taken music lessons for like 1 semester. I think I would have gotten a music minor, and I just refused to do it because I was like, no, I don't want to have to perform anything else. I just want to play jazz band.
There was just a lot of overlap between my major and a minor. Like there were some classes that ended up counting for both, and so it just made sense. And so minor in computer science is what I got. But definitely,
Nice.
my friends who got majors in CS were much harder hit by much harder classes. So I don't even know if I consider it half. But
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you right now.
and this is the last story, Gordon. I'm
okay.
getting us back on track after this.
Well, I was just gonna say doing file systems. That sucked. I hated that.
Yeah, that
class.
sounds horrible.
Yeah.
File system sounds like the opposite of what I would want to do with computer science. But props to you, Gore, for getting it done. Someone's got to do it. And it happened to be you. As Oath says someone's got to gank solo lane in the first couple of minutes. And it's Relentless One, whose bracer is down on the ground, actually could make the difference here. Remikami in on the chase. Oath just waiting for those cooldowns. Sino close by as well. And the silence is good enough. And First Blood will not end up falling, despite one very low Relentless One. Looks like Gore Racer did end up making a difference. Yeah, there is going to be First Blood, but it's on the other side of the map. Gino takes the tumble, continues a rough game 2 into a tough start to game 3.
Yeah, so that one is pretty much just blanket statement what Yamoja and Medusa should be doing in this lane. The fact that there was any pressure from Griff and Gino is impressive on their side from the Wardens, because I feel like Medusa's clear alongside of Yamoja should just be dominating this lane, and they get the first blood. So I think that ends up showcasing why it is capable. But I also think, you had mentioned the bracer. I think that's a huge, caveat of what gets the Relentless One away. And I think that it's a huge play for them to continue on that pace. Griff is getting low, though, in the duo lane. It's so close, but not quite gone. I also think you have to mention the specific, stripping away the auto attacks that Relentless One had into immediately a silence. Both of those kind of stacking up onto each other really did... what is it? It's a disarm. There we go. That just stacks into each other and slows down what an Artio and what a Daji are going to be able to do in a closed space with their cooldowns up.
Yep. Gore, I'm excited to see what the jungle, speaking of the Daji, what the jungle brawl in the early part of this game starts to look like, because we've already seen Oath at his best in this set. And we've seen Sino towards the top of his game in this set as well. And now both on very playmaking style junglers. One in more of a initiation, powwow, dive-in sort of setup, and Sino with more of the lockdown CC type of mindset. And so I'm very intrigued at how all that ends up shaking down. But I am nervous, Gore, at the onset of this game about some of the CC for the Wardens and their initial setup early on in this game, because you've got 5 sets of beads on the Eldritch Hounds to go up against. So it's going to be difficult to find real consistent lockdown for kills.
You know, bad news is there's 5 sets of beads. Good news is there's 5 sets of beads, so that means that a lot of the other like aggressive options, I guess, that would be available for them aren't there right now. Or even like some of the safety relic, right? You don't have the shell, so if you get some good damage onto somebody, it's going to be a lot easier to secure the kill, things like that. It's this weird ebb and flow of, well, we can't CC you, but all we have to do is burn that beads, and then 160 seconds, we have plenty of playroom to be able to come up and just kill you one more time. The downside is working in that window, right? You know, almost 3 full minutes, but not quite enough realistically to get as much done as you would like. Most of the time we typically will see the beads go down, and then if you're lucky, you can get 2 ganks in. Most like average ganks per beads down is usually 1, and sometimes it's even if you get the 1, right? And so I think if you can play proactively on the Wardens, you can create a lot of options there. They've got a lot of CC that it should burn a lot of beads. And so it's going to be on the Hounds and how trigger-happy they are on popping those. Yep. That determines, I think, how often they end up getting caught out.
Yep. I wonder if Dude Man Bro and Quig Gore on a bit of a different conversation feel a little bit better about the way the duo lane has started if you're able to exert just a bit more pressure. A 1-level lead for the time being, maybe call it half a level. Dude Man Bro has been active. That is a nice chunk of damage from Oswald. No charges on the ultimate otherwise. I think Oath would have been just a little bit lower. Dude Man Bro has been very active, though, on this Medusa pick. My goodness, you gotta stop half committing, so I can get a point across. Oh, right down Main Street goes Grasp of Death. Might have been a kill there, as Quig was in for follow-up. Crimson is low. Relentless One does have Eagle's Rally, but won't turn it around onto Crimson. Now it's a rotation out of the duo lane from a couple members of the Kaolin Wardens. And despite nearly 100% of Crimson's health bar being down, no one will die in mid.
I think that is...
But beads are gone.
Simultaneously impressive from the Hounds, and maybe not necessarily the best sign that you want. Like you said, beads are down. They spent a lot of time hiding and trying to make sure that they could stay alive throughout all of that. And so I think that there's a conversation to be had around those beads cooldowns, Yamoja, as well as this Persephone. Suddenly a lot easier to try and gank, although right now it's the Yamoja going for a gank.
Petrify out.
Oh, good
How
walls.
about that damage? Shell delays this fight a little bit further. Stun onto Gino, but Dude Man Bro's got eyes for Griff. Centaurus is ready around the corner, and Griff has got the kill. It has been flipped, and the Kaolin Wardens answer back with a hunter kill of their own.
And that, I mean, well, Griff might not get out of here. Good powwow, that should have the damage.
Powwow. Third chain, no good onto Gino, but the swipes are in, and the Eldritch Hounds make it worthwhile. A 2-kill swing after Dude Man Bro ends up dying in a 1.8k gold lead at 7 minutes.
Yeah, sacrificial Dude Man Bro, but leads to 2 kills. One of them going over to your jungler. You get an assist there for Oath as well. And Oath has been like, I don't want to say essential for this team's victory, but a really good purveyor of success for them. If Oath gets ahead, the team's doing a lot better just in general. A lot of the games they've won, a lot of the times that you've looked at them and the games they've won like by a large margin, it has been because Oath is 10-0 or something ridiculous like that. So I have a lot of hopes, I think, to see what Oath can do with a small lead pulled back over that, especially over something like the E-set. But at the same time, Tenyer goes to Moswell, goes over to Sino. And they're getting aggressive on the duo lane. I don't know that they're going to get here in time. In fact, they might end up overextending.
Yeah, it's exactly what happened last time, isn't it? Quig gets pulled through, Grasp of Death out. And Quig will avoid a couple of Centaurus shots. And Gino ends up falling, and the bleed onto Griff as well. It is the same story as last time, Gore, except it's an overextension from the Kaolin Wardens. Down go Gino and Griff, and further extending out is the gold lead for the Hounds.
Crimson had one of those moments that was like staring down the barrel of a gun Except not even quite. I guess it's more like the moments where you see like a car that's slamming on their brakes and you're just staring it down in a movie and it stops right in front of you right before it would actually connect. That's what that was, because he looked at the very tip of the flame of a Centaurus shot, and that is not going to treat you too well. 2 steps forward, dead. Absolutely, it changes maybe some of the discussion here and gets something back over there for Griff. But now you're in a great spot here if you're the Hounds. I mean, this is a brilliant explosive start for him.
Gino? Okay, look. Gino has had a brutal last couple of games.
0-11.
0-11
now,
over the last 2 games. Gino has had an absolutely devastating stretch of a couple of games now. The Sylvanas didn't work. The Atlas has just been picked a good bit. I think. I don't know. You don't want to buy beads on Atlas to start. But I think that makes a world of difference here when you're going up against a Petrify, a River's Rebuke, a Grasp of Death, a Powwow, all potentially impacting you in the first few minutes of these games. I don't know. He's 3 levels behind. Quig is off to an opposite start and a fantastic start. 5 of 6 affected kills. That's good for the highest kill participation on the map, except for Griff, who's 1 for 1. But yeah, Gino has had a rough stretch here, Gore. Not to say he can't turn it around, but fighting an uphill battle, being behind everyone on the other team, and also Quig being a similar level to everyone on the other team certainly doesn't. Come on!
Someone on the Hounds has like bad blood with Gino. Like they hate him. Like this goes beyond game. There's no reason that they commit to this Atlas. Admittedly, I can give a ton of in-game reasons. All of it around the CC that Atlas provides and how impactful Gino has been on this pick. Just trying to make sure that gets limited is a huge deal for the Hounds. But it's starting to feel like there's more behind it with how often they're picking them off. And unfortunate for them. Good news is that means Gino's player damage is through the roof because they're involved in every single team fight. Bad news, that player damage has converted to a single kill so far for the team, which is not looking too hot for him. 7-1. I mean, Dave, at this point, if I'm the Hounds, this is like a great early lead. And we were talking about it last game. This is not necessarily on pace to be like a 20-minute we're absolutely just going to close things out and be done.
Yep.
But because of this lead, you're going to be able to find a lot more success a lot sooner. We're still talking about 18-minute, 17-minute Fire Giants. We're talking about easy Gold Fury starts and fights because when you bait the other team in, you just have an intrinsic lead over them in terms of experience. The bad news is that it's mainly only in duo that they have that. So good for Gold Fury fights, but it's not as impactful. I mean, Griff still has a really high damaging ult, and Gino is, well, 0-5, 0-6, let's call it now. It's not necessarily that big of a kill.
I don't know, Gore. This is brutal. This is absolutely brutal.
Okay,
as
that
the
one was
Hounds
brutal.
Are running down the Wardens. I mean, it started and left and has now trickled over towards mid. It's been a forgettable stretch of 2 games now for Gino.
Oh, I don't know. I'm starting to remember them. It's
Forgettable for him.
mind.
Yeah, no, I can't keep using the word forgettable when it's been as obviously stand out.
Forgettable.
Is that an actual song? Or are you
That
just
one
singing
is an
words
actual
again?
song.
I'll never forget you. Oh, do you know who is that? Oh my God.
Mine was like an old, I want to say like jazz ballad, right? I feel like that's a
mine was
Sinatra
some
song.
performer at Music Midtown here in Atlanta.
Oh.
Zara Larson is her name. Actually has some really good little jams. I'm not gonna sing that whole one.
Not a sponsor, by the way.
Yeah, not a sponsor, by the way. I mean, a weird
But
crossover.
if you want to be though,
A weird crossover, but sure.
make sure to reach out. That goes to any brands, just all the time,
Yeah,
forever.
yeah. We'll hear you out. I'll sell you. I'll sell your brand like I sell some chairs. That's the Dolson
Yo, and
guarantee.
these chairs have done well, man.
Gore, when we're here broadcasting,
I love them.
when we're here for 11 hours,
Yeah.
and that's what we're closing in on. Maxonomic is necessary, and I'm sitting in one right
And
now to peel back the curtain,
I'm
to break the
leaning on
fourth wall a little bit. This Maxonomic is saving my life, and I'm not kidding, as there is a bit of pressure from the Kaolin Wardens. Could be enough damage. Remikami, though, healing up enough. And Gino would be the last person to finish off a kill on the map right now. That's a lot of engage for not a lot of payoff, though there could still be a collapse. Gino hoping to make an impact. Beads get used, in goes Griff. And finally, a kill is there for the Kaolin Wardens. And Griff near the front, though Sino on an awkward spot over on right, trades back kill for kill.
It's that question of, is it worth it? If you kill, I think literally you kill anyone else that's not Dude Man Bro. I still think Dude Man Bro is a good kill. At this point, if you're the Wardens, you take anything and everything you can get. It's scraps, but it's worth it. If you're the Hounds, though, you lost the one guy that's already died. You lose the one guy that bounty is going to be less. You know, if you lose Oath there, then that's massive swings for the Wardens. You get good experience, a little bit of gold that goes in your pockets. You feel better about it. But I think that it's just because it ends up being the one person they've done it to already. And it feels a little less impactful overall, and it kind of continues, I think, where the Hounds are in a much more favorable trade. Who's worth more, the jungler for the other team, or our carry, who's still doing just fine, is on parity, at least in the lane?
Agreed. Unfortunately, Moswell falls. Gore, I did ask for a 20-minute barn burner. And we've already had this bit, where like last game kind of counted. This is more what I meant.
Yeah, at this point, this counts.
This is more what I meant.
Poor Gino.
Hello, death number 7 for Gino.
14.
Now 0 and 14 across the last 2 games. All right, this is a good idea. This game is out of control. We're 8,500 gold in the lead. If the Kaolin Wardens somehow win this game, I don't know. I'll think of something. And so this seems like an okay time, Gore, to pitch the idea that I was talking to you about.
Okay, and just live on broadcast, not like.
Maybe I mean, should I save it?
No, I think it's fine to pitch it.
Yeah, I'm talking about the SEC variant.
Yes.
Right. We're on Wednesdays. We do our.
I'm gonna throw it out there. The word variant has a lot of negative connotation after the last 2 years.
No, but I'm thinking
An
about
SEC
Loki variants.
altered.
Loki variants.
An altered version.
An altered version of the SEC. And we call it the SMITE casual
I hate
cast.
the word variant now,
Yeah,
as
no,
it
you're
turns
right.
out. I didn't realize that
You're
until
right.
just now.
It brings up horrible memories. It's called the SEC, the SMITE casual cast.
Yeah.
And what we do is we pull one of the SEC games.
Much like the set you're watching.
Honestly, it would not be unlike this, where we pull one of our games from Thursday, and we do our live media days on Wednesdays, and we pull one of the SEC games from Thursdays, put it on Wednesday, and we have that nice little, I don't know what our official term is for it, but the room with 4 microphones. We call it the podcast room, but I don't know what the technical term is.
Not a lot of
for it.
podcasting in there anymore.
This could be a podcast vibe, but basically we would put on one of the SEC games. And very casually sit around. We would only talk about that. We'd probably get off track a little bit. But we end up choosing to broadcast one of the SEC games in a much more casual, laid-back, 4 casters in a room with 4 microphones, just kind of shooting the breeze style. And I think that would be a lot of fun. And I am going to pitch that to the necessary parties, but who knows if that ends up coming to fruition. But I think it would be a lot of fun. That is a crazy grasp of death. That's got 4 members of the Kaolin Wardens trapped in place. River's Rebuke is up. And Oath is on a rampage. That'll be one
more hit. There it is.
On Oswald Quig. Now 4-0-10. And Griff will not gallop away. And Relentless One won't hit anyone with the Eagles Rally. And this is devastating if everyone from the Hounds survives, which they will. Triple kill from Oath. That looks mighty fine. 7-0-9 on the Daji. As only Dude Man Bro has died. And somehow, Gord's only Gino who has escaped.
That's the wildest thing that happened that fight. It's Gino who's, well, maybe we spoke too soon. Oh, poor Gino. I'm sorry. That's all on us.
Yeah,
I think we should take entire blame for that one.
Yeah, that is entirely on us. That is no one's fault
Dave,
but our own.
let's first off, I think I'm gonna iterate on your idea. First off, 2 casters.
You're gonna variant on my idea?
Yeah. Okay. Well, 2 casters, 2 pros from that media day. I think
from
that'd
the
be
media
pretty
day,
fun.
that would be fun.
To have
and you know what? I actually think like if we start doing like roll queues later on, we have like a hunter-focused
like
SMITE casual cast,
yes.
and we sit in there and we just hang out with like Dude Man Bro and Griff on the camera. We have a support one, and we could have Neoma or whoever telling us
about Quig
what's
and Gino.
going on with Gino right now.
Why is
Gino
it so poor? And I have at least half an answer for that.
Okay.
First off, your Yamoja on the other side is 4-0 and 12.
Okay.
So that's already a bad start. 4-0 and 8 little further behind is the mid laner, who you had mentioned really good grasping death last time around. Here's where the crux of the problem seems to be for me. You've got Daji at 7-0-10. That's massive
Yeah.
for a Daji. It's a 5-level lead over Sino, of all people. I mean, this is amazing, I think, for Oath to be in this position. I think showcasing right now the reason why the Hounds are the #1 seed in NA and why they're a team that I honestly think it needs to be looked at. I think for even some of the bottom seed SPL teams, right? This is going to be a team that during Masters is going to be a lot to handle. And I think I'm starting to see where the pressure needs to be. It needs to go on to Oath, if you can find it.
Yep, Oath has been one of the rising stars at this level of SMITE. Often looked at as potential next generation of SPL players. I think Crimson is in a similar category as well. And so I think there is kind of a story in here, Gore, in the rising stars of the Eldritch Hounds and players who have had storied careers already in SMITE on the other side, and how cool it is to watch them all compete with one another. I have to imagine we're getting to the closing moments of this game as the Eldritch Hounds are far and away ahead. Crimson will end up dying on the back, something that doesn't happen often, as Quig is on a rampage. The rest of the Eldritch Hounds will run down the Kaolin Wardens. Left side Phoenix goes missing. Looks like Oath will have to back away, though, for the time being.
I'm trying to figure out where the ends are right now. If you're the Wardens, you're...
Don't tell me you're trying to find their way back into this game.
Hey, you know what? It's my job, all right? And I'm going to tell you.
All right, tell me, Corey, please. Please tell me.
What you're going to need is for the Hounds to just absolutely mess up. I mean, they just have to make
like 6 times, though.
Yeah, well, so, okay, well, you get an advantage if they goof up at least once. But you're definitely going to need 4 more of those afterward.
I don't know
and
if
one has to be a huge fumble around a Fire Giant.
I don't know if the Wardens could do the Fire Giant right now as a team. The Hounds are so strong, and the Wardens just have fallen so far behind in this game. This has been just an onslaught, a battery of damage. Oath is going to delete Maswal. Hello. Goodbye. That's a divine Oath. And I think this might just end our game here, Goremizer. 45-second death timer on Sino. And, fortunate or unfortunate, depending on how you look at it, this one ends this way. Such a competitive set. And the Eldritch Hounds just steamroll the Wardens in 21 minutes and 21 seconds, apparently. All right, Gore, let's play the game. How does this one end?
Man, I don't know. I think that's where we see the absolute turnaround. Look, this is where
I didn't have Petrify on my checklist.
all of a sudden every Kaolin Warden respawns. Right. It's a circle of protection into a massive ult from Gino and Griff. I almost said Maswal. He's playing Merlin. And that would have turned it around. That's how that one shakes out.
I'm not sure that the Wardens weren't so far behind they would have somehow damaged themselves throwing out their ultimates to that. Like, they would have hurt themselves dealing damage to the Hounds somehow.
I'm inclined to agree with that simply because for some of those ults you have to step out of the fountain, and I think you would die if you decided to step towards the Hounds in that kind of circumstance. Look, it was just such a massive lead.
You and I are able to have a more casual ending to the day because of the way the early game went here, and it was Dude Man Bro finding a lead on left. But it was all Oath all day. That just felt like was not going to be stopped here in game number 3.
I think it was really this play that like cemented things further ahead.
Kind of broke the duo lane one further time for the Wardens, didn't it? And when Oath and Quig are just playing their game. Now, I do feel bad for Gino to an extent because it feels like
there was a lot of spotlight on Gino.
If production really wanted to, they could pull, I think, 3 deaths over the course of like 4 minutes. Where Gino was just in mid trying to soak up some farm, and it was a Grasp of Death or a Palau into one or the other, and then just a dead Gino all over again. And it was just those 2 ultimates combined with one another. This is like 2 minutes later from that last replay.
I think that game counts as cyberbullying.
It might. It might. Yeah, of all the games today, that could have been F6. That might have been it. Look, the point being, though, the Eldritch Hounds looked really good.
Yes.
This is, and it's also an off game from the Wardens, right? This is uncharacteristically bad from an otherwise good team. So it was some of the best from the Hounds, and also some of the worst we've seen from the Wardens, and those two things combined for a ugly, ugly game.
And
3.
really, the worst thing is,
Tell me,
as
Glenn.
you go through all that, and Crimson has such a good final performance, but still, their entire KDA is like 4th. They go from like
Shattered.
40 down to like 10.
10. That is great. Wait, didn't you say there's another player who has? I don't know
yeah,
if our
there's-
stats page updated that fast.
You can see, because in Europe, it was Angry. I think I had a 28.8 going into this.
Yeah. And so, that's still holistically impressive. Crimson.
Literally anything over a 3 to me is just bonkers.
Yeah, when you start getting into like 5, 6,
Because it's like
all that
you're
plus-
just dying so little and getting so much
Yep.
that it doesn't seem like it should connect that way. You've got way too much going on for you.
Well, Gore,
42 is like nuts. The fact that you went weeks without dying as Crimson is absolutely criminal. I don't know what they were doing.
Absolutely crim, you know.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
God.
think I did that joke to Myth like
Did you?
last week.
Oh, that's
and
horrible.
He glared at me.
Oh, that's great. And it's good that you and I
That's
are
good.
together to appreciate that for one another. Gormizer, let's look back, because you probably forgotten, as well as I have. Huh? Now, that reminds me when Aggro was in the coffin behind us on Halloween. He tipped over. That was fantastic.
He just started hopping around and then
Look,
fell.
my memory's bad, and today has also been very long. So I did forget the first North American set we had, and it's the Shabalba Storm with a 2-1 win, of course, because everything today was 3, over the Anansi Weavers. And the Eldritch Hounds also go 3 against the Kaolin Warden, the Sages, and the Tanuki Gore. That one is very important, and you will see why when we move over to the standings here in just a second, because the Anansi Weavers, they're out of it. That means 3 teams are confirmed into Masters. Now, the Athenian Sages, with 2 games left to play, in theory, could win, and that would put the Tanuki at 2-2. And then could win again, and that would put another team at 2-3, but the Tanuki would also have to lose, so there are ways
Yeah.
in. However,
But-
none of this matters if the Sages lose. If the Sages lose tomorrow, then our North American teams
And that's
are
like the
confirmed.
biggest thing is the Sages, to get in, not only does it require the Tanuki to lose a set next week, they have to beat them first. That is literally the worst hurdle to have to get over. Is a team that is 0-3 right now, not finding a lot of success over the last couple of weeks. Having to find a win is not where you want to be if your standings don't have any reflective wins. I think most of their sets have been 2-0s as well against them, so there's not a lot of wiggle room for that one to be successful, and it all starts Saturday.
Gore, it was the day of days here in the SCC.
It's Earth Day.
Is it Earth Day?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, we go 12 sets on Earth Day. Thanks, Earth, for giving us the SCC day that we had here. It was a lot of fun, a lot of competitive SMITE. We've got EU SCC tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, the SPL right after that. You don't want to miss it. On behalf of myself, Gormizer, everyone back in production, all the other casters, thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.